Chapter 4967. Is she your sister? Yun Chujio was awakened by the pain. She looked around blankly and did not find anything unusual. She used her spiritual sense to look at the strange grass. She saw that the strange grass was waving its leaves vigorously. The emotions that were transmitted to her were also very anxious. However, it could not speak. Therefore, Yun Chujio could not guess what the strange grass was trying to say even after guessing for a long time. The Guai Chao could not help but feel a little discouraged. Now it actually wished that it could speak. Forget it. Since the little girl could not understand what it meant, then she would just watch the follow-up. In any case, the white seal had been broken by it a lot, so it probably would not have much of an effect. Yun Chujio saw that the Guai Chao was no longer tormenting it. In addition to the sleepiness, she did not take this small episode seriously. The next morning, Yun Chujio, who was sleeping, felt a little cold. She suddenly opened her eyes and was pleasantly surprised to see that Di Biming had actually woken up and was looking at her. Yun Chujio thought that she was dreaming. She rubbed her eyes and realized that Di Biming had really woken up. She immediately sat up happily. "Idol, you're awake? Are you feeling unwell?" Yun Chujio wanted to hold Di Biming's hand and check his pulse. However, before her hand touched Di Biming's hand, she heard a bone-chilling voice. "Scram." Yun Chujio was stunned. "Scram?" She looked at Di Biming and met a pair of bone-chilling eyes. There was no warmth or emotion in those eyes. It was as if she was looking at a stranger. Yun Chujio felt that Di Biming might have just woken up and was a little confused. She said patiently, "Prince Charming, the people from the Divine Devil Hall have been killed by you. We are safe for the time being." Di Biming frowned slightly. "Divine Devil Hall? That's right. I was surrounded by the people from the Divine Devil Hall. But who are you?" "I am Little Jiao. Did you forget about me?" Yun Chujio said half-jokingly. "I don't care if you're Little Jiao or Little Hachi. I've never had a woman by my side. Get lost." Di Biming said coldly. Yun Chujio was really dumbfounded. What happened to the gigolo? She was afraid of provoking Di Biming. After all, he had just woken up, so she said, "Okay, I'll leave now. I'll let Feng come in." After saying that, Yun Chujio walked out of the tent and said to Shui Wuji and Feng, "The gigolo is awake. You guys go in and take a look. He woke up so soon. I told you that the facial paralysis was a pervert." Shui Wuji saw that although Di Biming's hair was still silver, the color of blood on his face had recovered a lot. He immediately smiled and said, "You're finally awake. Are you all right?" Di Biming faintly acknowledged. Shui Wuji was already used to his cold appearance, so he did not mind it. He smacked his lips a few times and said, "You don't know that little sister Jiao was worried sick when you were unconscious." Di Biming frowned slightly. "Little sister Jiao? That little Jiao is your sister? Why haven't you mentioned it before? Hurry up and tell her to leave. I get annoyed whenever I see women." Shui Wuji. Oh God, was there something wrong with his ears? What did he just hear? And Feng, who was beside him, was also dumbfounded. Did their lord lose his memory? Shui Wuji swallowed his saliva and said with difficulty, "You don't remember little sister Jiao?" Di Biming snorted coldly. "Your sister, what do I remember for?" Chapter 4968. Are you serious? You really don't remember little sister Jiao? Shui Wuji asked incredulously. Di Biming said impatiently, "What little sister Jiao little 8? Hurry up and let her leave." Shui Wuji was dumbfounded. He probed a few more times and finally came to a conclusion. Di Biming had lost his memory. To be more precise, he had only forgotten Yun Chujio. But he remembered everything else clearly. Shui Wuji and Feng looked at each other. It was over. This person with facial paralysis had lost his memory. Little ninth sister was probably going to cry to death. Shui Wuji saw that Di Biming looked a little tired, so he did not dare to say anything more. He let him continue to rest, and then he left the tent with Feng. Shui Wuji saw Yun Chujio standing by the side alone, and his heart was very bitter. He walked over and said, "Little sister Jiao, you should know, right?" Yun Chujio did not have any obvious expression on her face. "Know what? That facial paralysis, he lost his memory," Shui Wuji said through gritted teeth. Yun Chujio's eyes widened. Are you sure that he really lost his memory? Xue Wuji nodded and sighed. Little sister Jiao, don't be too sad. He may have lost his memory due to his injuries. However, I believe that this is only temporary. He will remember it very soon. He thinks that you are my sister. Then, you should stay in this identity for now. Xue Wuji's words stopped abruptly because he saw a strange smile on Yun Chujia's face. Xue Wuji could not help but shiver. Little sister Jiao must have gone mad from the shock? And Feng, who was standing at the side, also looked at Yun Chujia worriedly. Miss Jiao must have been too upset. So she must have been upset. Little sister Jiao, are you okay? Xue Wuji asked in a trembling voice. Yun Chujia shook her head. I'm fine, as long as he wakes up. But did he lose his memory? I know you're upset. If you're really upset, just cry. Xue Wuji felt that Yun Chujia must be pretending to be calm. How pitiful. Yun Chujia looked at Xue Wuji in confusion. Why should I be upset? The facial paralysis has lost his memory. He doesn't remember you. How can you not be upset? Little sister Jiao, don't worry. When that facial paralysis regains his memory, it'll help you beat him up. Xue Wuji said angrily. However, Yun Chujia giggled, which made Xue Wuji and Enfeng's hair stand on end. It's over, he's really gone mad. Yun Chujia stopped laughing and said with a chuckle. All I want is for the pretty boy to be safe and sound. Now that he has woken up, I'm more than happy. How can I be sad? But he has lost his memory. He doesn't remember you. Xue Wuji felt that Yun Chujia must be forcing herself to be strong, so he said worriedly. Yun Chujia shrugged nonchalantly. Forget it then. At most, I'll let him fall in love with me again. What's the big deal? Xue Wuji and Feng. Just as the two of them were in a daze, they saw Yun Chujia rubbing her hands together. By the way, I like to see the pretty boy being flirted with by me. It's not bad to be able to experience it again. Xue Wuji and Enfeng saw Yun Chujia's eager look, and immediately fed their worries and sympathy to the dogs. How would such a pervert need their worries and sympathy? And that facial paralysis, it was probably bad luck. While the two of them were still in a daze, Yun Chujia entered the tent. Di Biming was resting with his eyes closed. When he saw Yun Chujia enter, impatience appeared on his face. Didn't your brother tell you to leave? Yun Chujia smiled at him. Let's get to know each other again. My name is Yun Chujia, please advise me. Chapter 4969. Not ugly little girl. When Di Biming saw Yun Chujia's bright smile, the word scram, that was on the tip of his tongue, could not be said out loud. He frowned. Since you are Xue Wuji's sister, why is his surname Xue and your surname Yun? Yun Chujia said with a smile. Because he is my sworn brother, not my biological brother. Di Biming snorted. Whether it is my biological brother or sworn brother, this is not a place for you to stay. Leave quickly. Yun Chujia smiled and said, Okay, I will leave now. After saying that, Yun Chujia turned around and left the tent. Di Biming was stunned. He originally thought that the not-so-ugly little girl would pester him, but she actually left just like that? However, this kind of thought disappeared in a flash. She was just an insignificant person. There was no need to waste his mind. Yun Chujia went outside. Xue Wuji and Enfeng saw her faint smile, and were completely relieved. As for Yuan Ji and his subordinates, ever since they arrived at the hinterland, they had tactfully stationed themselves about 2 miles away from them, so they did not know what happened here. Yun Chujia took out a recliner and lay down on it. She chewed on melon seeds as she pondered over her next plan. She did not care about the gigolo's amnesia. The gigolo could fall in love with her again after reincarnating, not to mention his amnesia. The most important thing now was the Divine Devil Hall. The Divine Devil Hall had lost more than 5,000 people this time, so they would probably send reinforcements soon. They had to make preparations early. It would be best if they could get some reinforcements. However, she was a piece of trash in the Heavy Cloud continent. Where could they get reinforcements? The guy thought for a moment, and took out the voice transmission talisman of the Lan family's patriarch. Patriarch, it's been a long time. Have you missed me? Unfortunately, the Lan family's patriarch ignored her. He Xinjiu did not know what it meant to be reserved, and what it meant to be embarrassed. She sent another message. Patriarch, I've killed more than 5,000 people of the Divine Devil Hall. Shouldn't you reward me? This time, the voice transmission talisman quickly received a reply. The old ancestor of the Lan family gritted his teeth and said, Reward your ass. Yin Chujio. She did not know that the old ancestor of the Lan family was in a terrible state. He wished that he could strangle her to death. Due to the interference of the Divine Devil Hall, the Lan family was besieged from all sides. Naturally, he did not have a good tone. Patriarch, I take it that what you said just now was a compliment. Well, are you in a bad mood? Who provoked you? Tell me, and I'll help you take care of her. Hei Shinjo sent another message with a smile. This time, the Lan family's patriarch replied unusually quickly. There was only one word. You. Yin Chujio. This fellow touched his nose guiltily and said slyly, Old ancestor, I'm trapped in the wilderness and can't get out. Please send 1,000 people to save me. This time, the old ancestor of the Lan family replied even faster. There was only one word, scram. Yin Chujio angrily threw the voice transmission talisman into her storage ring. This damned old fox. He really didn't give her any face at all. The Lan family wouldn't be able to do anything. Could it be that they could only sit here and watch? Hei Shinjo chewed on the ground full of melon seeds and didn't come up with any good ideas. However, because Beiming had turned the situation around, other things were nothing to her. She would find a way sooner or later. Chapter 4970 was a little unhappy thinking of Beiming. Yun Chujio suddenly remembered that Guai Chao had some abnormal behavior. Could it be that Guai Chao knew something? She quickly used her divine sense to communicate with Guai Chao. However, because Guai Chao could not speak and Beiming's situation was more complicated, Yun Chujio could not guess what Guai Chao meant even after guessing for a long time. She could only guess that Beiming did not lose his memory for no reason. Something must have happened. Soon a day passed. During this period, Yun Chujio did not enter the tent again. Enfeng would go in to check on Beiming from time to time. When Enfeng went in for the first time, Beiming thought it was Yun Chujio. He was about to scold her when he realized it was Enfeng, so he swallowed his words. After that, every time someone entered, Beiming would open his eyes and take a look. When he saw that it was Enfeng who entered every time, he felt unhappy for some reason. 2 days had passed in a row, and Beiming was able to sit up. Moreover, he had more and more time to wake up. When Enfeng entered again, Beiming hesitated for a moment and then asked stiffly, Has Shui Wuji's sister left? Enfeng's eyes twitched. How did His Majesty determine that the 9th Miss was the younger sister of the young master of Wuji? Well, she could be considered a younger sister. He told the truth. The 9th Miss did not leave. After all, the Divine Devil Hall must have set up an ambush outside. If she left rashly, it would be a disaster. Beiming's expression immediately turned ugly. Enfeng was afraid that he would get angry, so he quickly said, Your Majesty, the 9th Miss came to the wilderness to save us. Please let her stay here. Beiming impatiently waved his hand. Enfeng saw that he did not say anything to let Yun Chujio leave, so he let out a sigh of relief and left. However, Enfeng never expected that the reason why a certain supremacy's expression was ugly was not because Yun Chujio did not leave, but because he felt that since the not-so-ugly girl did not leave, why did she not come to pester him again? Of course, he did not want to be pestered by her. He just felt that it was obvious that she had said please instruct me before, but she did not show up after that. It was really hypocritical. Yun Chujio did not know what a certain someone was thinking. Over the past 2 days, this fellow had been trying to think of a way to get out of the predicament, and on the other hand, he was trying to think of a way to appease those demonic beasts. After all, a portion of the demonic beasts in the deep region had lost their lives previously. Hei Shinjo was afraid that these demonic beasts would be dissatisfied with her. As for the methods of appeasing them, they were nothing more than pills and praises. Of course, this fellow had been sending telepathic messages to the Long clan's ancestor non-stop for the past 2 days. He did not care whether the ancestor replied or not. Ancestor, blood is thicker than water. Your blood is flowing in my body. Old ancestor, as long as you send someone to save me, I promise to repay you with every drop of water. This is a business that will definitely make a profit. Royal City, Lan family's ancestral residence. The old ancestor of the Lan family received He Xinjia's voice transmission talisman again. He said to the masked elder who was standing by the side with his hands hanging down, I've never seen such a thick-skinned person. She has caused so much trouble, yet she still has the face to beg me to save her. Master, what do you plan to do next? The masked old man asked. He felt that if his master really did not plan to save her, she would have blocked the sound transmission talisman long ago. How could she still receive the message from Yin Chujio? Chapter 4971 was a clear path. The ancestor of the Lan family took a sip of tea to calm his anger and said, Now, because of the Shenma Hall's mischief, the Mu family, Zhuang family, and Qi family have formed an alliance and invaded the Lan family's territory. If I recklessly send the main force to the wilderness, I'm afraid that our territory will be seized by the other three families. Therefore, this person must not be sent. The old man was a little puzzled. Then you plan to ignore Yin Chujio? Let her die on her own. Master, to say something that should not be said, this Yin Chujio killed 5,000 people of the Divine Devil Hall, with only 40 people. Such courage and strategy are even more suitable for that matter than young Master Luo Chun. The Lan family's ancestor did not have any displeased expression. What you said makes sense. I have the same consideration, but there is indeed no way to free up manpower. However, it's not convenient for our Lan family to send people over, but I will show her the way. The old man was stunned. What way? The old ancestor of the Lan family put down the teacup and said slowly, Zen sect. Zen sect. This. Why would the Zen sect help Yin Chujio? The old man asked in disbelief. This is not within our consideration. I only need to give the little girl a hint. The rest will depend on her ability, the old ancestor said in an unfathomable manner. The old man was still a little puzzled. Master, since you have already made up your mind, why didn't you tell Yin Chujio when she asked for help 2 days ago? The Lan family's old ancestor snorted coldly. This troublemaker has caused so much trouble. I'll make her anxious and teach her a lesson. The old man. Master, is it really okay for you to be so childish? After the ancestor of the Lan family finished speaking, he also felt a little embarrassed. He immediately took out the voice transmission talisman and said coldly to Yin Chujio, The Lan family can't take care of themselves right now, so they can't spare anyone to save you. However, the Zen sect is not too far from the wilderness. You can ask the Zen sect for help. On the other side, He Xinjiu, who was grumbling and cursing the ancestor of the Lan family, had her eyes lit up when she received the voice transmission talisman. That's right, there were also those old monks from the Zen sect. Humph. This old fox still had some conscience and knew how to show her the way. However, if she were to ask for help in a straightforward manner, those old monks would definitely say that the monks would jump out of the 3 realms and not reject her in the 5 elements. So she had to think of a way. Yin Chujio blinked her eyes, and her gaze fell on the demon sky bell and the wooden fish on her wrist. She suddenly had an idea. Although she didn't have the voice transmission talisman of Master Wu, she had the voice transmission talisman of a master. So she took out the voice transmission talisman and said, Master Lei, Master Liao, Master Lei. Master Lei. I intercepted the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish from the purple-masked man of the Divine Devil Hall in the wilderness. Do you still want them? If you don't want them, I'll take them as my own. A quarter of an hour later, a master's anxious voice came from the voice transmission talisman. Yes. Yes. Of course, Master Li. As long as you can give the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish to our Zen sect, we will agree to any conditions. Yin Chujio snapped her fingers and suppressed the insidiousness in her heart. She said, Master Lei, don't you know me well? How can a kind person like me take advantage of the situation? Don't worry, the Dawn Bell and 11 wooden fish are yours. However, the people of the Divine Devil Hall are guarding outside the Wild Hope Wilderness, so it's best for your Zen sect to send more people to collect them. It doesn't need too many people, just 10,000 people will do. Chapter 4972 deserved to be bullied for the rest of his life. A moment later, Master Lei replied, Almsgiver Yin, let me get this straight. This time, our Zen sect will help you get out of danger. Take it as a reward for breaking the Dawn Bell and Shiwan's wooden fish. If you go back on your words, then don't blame us for being merciless. Yin Chujio pursed her lips. This old monk was not stupid, but it was true. The Zen sect also had spies, so they naturally knew a thing or two about the situation in the wilderness. This guy picked up the voice transmission talisman and replied, No problem. We have a deal. Well, come quickly, or I won't be able to hold on. After hearing the affirmative reply from a Master Lei, Yin Chujio put the voice transmission talisman into her storage ring. Buttface asked eagerly, Little fairy, do you really intend to return the Demon Sky Bell and the little wooden fish to the Zen sect? Yin Chujio curled the corners of her mouth and asked, What do you think? Buttface suddenly laughed strangely. Little fairy, you are getting worse and worse. Yin Chujio ignored Buttface. She thought to herself that she had not flirted with the pretty boy for the past 2 days. Now that things had come to a head, it was time to flirt with him. So the guy entered the tent. D. Biming's condition gradually improved. Although he could not stand up yet, he could still sit up. He was currently sitting cross-legged in meditation, so that he could recover as soon as possible. When he heard someone enter, he thought it was still in Feng, so he did not open his eyes. Yin Chujio did not speak either. She sat on the ground and watched D. Biming cultivate with a smile. D. Biming felt her gaze and frowned slightly. He opened his eyes. When he saw that it was Yin Chujio, his expression immediately became even colder. Who let you in? Get out. Yin Chujio ignored him. Instead, she took out a spirit fruit and started munching on it. D. Biming's expression turned even uglier. Didn't you hear what I said? Do you want me to slap you out? Yin Chujio took a few bites of the spirit fruit and said leisurely, You made a mistake. This tent is mine. You're the one who took over the magpie's nest. D. Biming's face froze. This was her tent. No wonder the pillow and quilt had a faint fragrance. And Feng heard this and quickly entered the tent. He thought to himself, What's wrong with you? Help me leave immediately. I don't want to stay here anymore, D. Biming said with a stiff face. And Feng was dumbfounded. Your Excellency, I didn't bring a tent with me. Besides, isn't Miss Jia's tent good? Why do you want to move out? I asked you to help me, so be it. Stop talking nonsense. D. Biming's tone became cold, and Feng could only go forward and help D. Biming up. However, he heard Yin Chujio's careless voice. TSK, don't tell me you don't dare to stay here anymore? Are you afraid that it'll do something to this tent? You're getting more and more cowardly. Hearing that, D. Biming snorted coldly. You're thinking too much. I just don't want to stay here anymore. Is that so? Why do I feel that you're too cowardly to stay here? Are you afraid that it'll force you to sleep with me in the middle of the night? Yin Chujio revealed a malicious smile. D. Biming looked at Yin Chujio's slightly provocative gaze and immediately shook off Feng's hand. Why are you helping me? Get out. Feng's heart felt like it was bickering with a dog. He was the one who asked him to help her, all right? Now it was his fault. He deserved to be bullied by Miss Jio for the rest of his life. Chapter 4973. You are actually a beast dressed in clothes, and Feng was speechless as he left the room. He felt that his actions were a little childish, so he decided to ignore Yin Chujio and continued to meditate. He wanted to kick Yin Chujio out, but this was her tent, so he didn't seem to have the right to kick her out. Forget it, if she was willing to stay, he would just ignore her. Hence, the two of them stayed in the same room without saying a word. D. Biming sat cross-legged and cultivated. At first, Yun Chujio was still sitting and eating the spirit fruit. Later, she felt sleepy and decided to lie down on the blanket and fall asleep. These 2 days, she had been thinking of a way to get out of this and did not sleep much. Now that she was finally confident, she naturally fell asleep. At first, a certain someone was still focused on cultivating. Later, his gaze could not help but fall on Yun Chujio's sleeping face. A certain someone's mental activity was as follows. This woman, she actually fell asleep just like that. Is she usually so casual? She actually fell asleep just like that in front of a man. She even drooled when she slept. How ugly. She did not even cover herself with the blanket. Is she stupid? A certain someone subconsciously picked up the blanket and wanted to cover Yun Chujio, but his hand stopped in midair. He didn't know this ugly girl, so why did he cover her with the blanket? So a certain someone threw the blanket in his hand to the side. After a moment, he picked up the blanket again, thought about it, and threw it to the side. After repeating it a few times, a certain someone still covered Yun Chujio with the blanket. I was just afraid that this ugly girl would become sick and drag everyone down. Yes, that's right. Guai Chao and his dantian had been paying attention to the situation outside. When he saw the actions of a certain someone, he snorted coldly in his heart. This fiend should be thanking Go Weiba. If it had not diluted the white seal, his memories of the stinky girl would definitely have been sealed tightly. How would he still retain his instinctive good impression of the stinky girl? After it was done, it left. It hid itself and its name. This was the true portrayal of Go Weiba Dogtail. As Di Biming's injuries had not fully recovered, he was very tired after cultivating for a while. Therefore he lay down too. However, he deliberately lay far away from He Xinjiu. He slept until the next morning. Di Biming felt that he had not slept so peacefully for a long time. He opened his eyes and froze. That was because he and Yun Chujio were lying under the same blanket. Yun Chujio was in his arms, and his hand was on her waist. It was obvious that he had slept with her for the whole night. How was this possible? Why did he sleep with this wretched girl for the whole night? He took a closer look and realized that there was no change in his position. It was obvious that this ugly girl had thrown herself into his arms. That must be it. Taking advantage of the fact that his body had not fully recovered and his vigilance was lower, that ugly girl shamelessly came over. It was really, He had to teach her a good lesson. He had to let her know what it meant to be shameless, and what it meant for a man and a woman to not be intimate, so that she would not pester him. Thinking of this, a certain honored guest planned to push He Xinjiu away, and then teach her a fair lesson. Just as a certain someone's hand was about to land on Yun Chujio's body, Yun Chujio woke up. She looked at the situation in front of her in a daze and started sobbing. Good for you, Di Biming. I didn't expect you to be such a beast. You actually took advantage of me. I can't live anymore. A certain someone. Chapter 4974, It's clearly you. Before a certain someone could finish his sentence, Yun Chujio interrupted him. Woo, you're a human with a beast's heart. You're still trying to quibble. If I didn't wake up in time, what would you have done? Are you going to? Woo, I'm too ashamed to face anyone. I'm trying to. Look, you even admitted it yourself. You just wanted to have an affair with me. I thought you were an aloof and holy Prince Charming. But it turns out you're a pervert. I'm not. You're not what? You still want to quibble. I clearly didn't cover myself with the blanket when I was asleep. Did this blanket grow legs on me? You're clearly the one who coveted my beauty and wanted to take advantage of me. Shameless. Di Biming was so angry that his face turned red. He had clearly not done anything, so how could he be labeled as a pervert? He suddenly caught a glimpse of the cunning in Yun Chujio's eyes, and immediately understood that she was doing it on purpose. He was so angry that his head was buzzing. This ugly girl was too crafty. His body was already very weak, and with such a strong breath, he actually fainted from anger. He Xinjiu. Heaven and earth, she didn't say anything. Why did he faint from anger? This guy quickly approached Di Biming. Just as he was about to bite his finger and feed him some blood, a dazzling white light flashed, and Di Biming was no longer on the ground. Instead, there was an unconscious little silver snake. Hey Shinjio. Oh my god! She had made the gigolo turn into a snake. Fortunately, this had happened a few times in the past. Hey Shinjio was not too surprised. After thinking about it, it was not bad for the gigolo to turn into a snake. This way, it would be easier for her to protect him when he broke out of the encirclement. Moreover, she was going back to the Lan family. Neither the old fox nor Lan Luochen would take in the gigolo. Now that he had turned into a snake, it was much more convenient. However, she still had to put on a show in front of Yuanji. And Feng looked at the silver snake on the ground, and looked at Yin Chujio with a complicated expression. Miss Jio, what did you do to us? Yin Chujio touched her nose guiltily. Look at what you said. What can I do to him? He became a snake, because he felt unworthy of being a human. The amnesiac snake, which had just woken up, choked and fainted again. And Feng's heart was filled with tears of sympathy for his venerable self. He had thought that his venerable self had lost his memory, and Miss Jio would be in so much pain that she wished she could die. Who would have thought that his venerable self was the one in so much pain? Yin Chujio told Shuewuji and Enfeng about her plan. The two of them also felt that Di Biming turning into a snake was the safest way to follow Yin Chujio back to the Lan family. So they nodded in agreement. Thus, Yuanji and the others saw Yin Chujio, and the other two looking for Di Biming in panic. Yuanji quickly brought his people to help look for him, but they didn't find anything. There wasn't even a footprint. Yin Chujio, this drama queen, immediately howled. Shuewuji comforted her. Little sister Jio, maybe that facial paralysis has another opportunity. Don't worry too much. Yin Chujio sobbed. Woo-woo, he was already seriously injured, and now he's nowhere to be found. How can I not worry? Where did he go? And Feng, who was at the side, cursed in his heart. Where is he? He's inside your sleeve. Poor Lord. Chapter 4975. Don't make me look down on you. How would Yuanji know that someone could turn into a snake? He immediately believed it, and comforted Yin Chujio. After a while he saw that Yin Chujio's emotions had calmed down a little, so he asked, Miss Jio, what should we do next? I think the people from the Divine Devil Hall will make a move soon. Yin Chujio was about to gloat, but when she thought of her current character, she said listlessly, Don't worry, I have already asked for reinforcements. Reinforcements? You asked for help from the ancestor? The ancestor will send someone over? Yuanji asked in surprise. Yin Chujio shook her head. Not the Lan family but the Zen sect. Yuanji was stunned. Zen sect? This was obviously not related to the Zen sect, okay? The Zen sect had never meddled in worldly affairs. Why would they help this time? However, this female devil in front of him was full of bad ideas. She might have used some wicked method to trick the Zen sect. He thought for a moment and said, Ninth miss, is what you said true? Will the Zen sect really come to help? But I estimate that the Divine Devil Hall will send no less than 5,000 people. Even if the Zen sect is willing to help, they may not be a match for the Divine Devil Hall. By the way, Miss Jio, how many people will the Zen sect send to help? Yin Chujio still looked listless. Not many people, only about 10,000. Yuanji. 10,000? That was not much. Was the Zen sect crazy? How could they send so many people to help? Yuanji wanted to ask more questions, but Yin Chujio covered her face and said, Don't ask. I'm not in the mood now. Sob, I want to be alone. As she spoke, she covered her face and went into the tent. Yuanji sighed. Miss Jio must be too sad. How pitiful. He didn't know that Hei Shinjio was afraid that he would laugh out loud if he continued acting. Most importantly, the little silver snake in the sleeve had already woken up. She was afraid that she would be exposed, so she ran back to the tent. Yin Chujio took out the struggling little silver snake and said in a low and fierce voice, Gigolo, behave yourself, or I will castrate you. A certain someone. Biming was about to call in Feng to come in when he heard Yun Chujio sneer. I've already activated the isolation array. No one will come to save you even if you scream. Pretty boy, I don't blame you for losing your memory. After all, this is not your subjective cause. However, if you don't even have an IQ, then it'll look down on you. The small silver snake's vertical pupils immediately turned cold. What do you mean? Yun Chujio sneered. What do I mean? If you have an IQ, you should have guessed my identity, and guessed that everything I said to you was true. After all, you are such a tsundere person. If you didn't really agree and accept it, why would there be a woman by your side? The small silver snake's vertical pupils flashed, but it didn't say anything. What could he say? Could it be that he didn't have intelligence? Also, we're safe and sound now because we paid a huge price in exchange. If you have a brain, then cooperate with my arrangements. Don't let me look down on you. After saying that, Yun Chujio didn't bother with his reaction, and directly turned around to leave. A certain lord was stunned for a moment. Although this ugly girl was shameless and lecherous, what she said made sense. A man could bend and stretch, so he would temporarily spare her. Chapter 4976 Flying Sword. Yun Chujio walked out of the tent. Seeing that Yuanji hadn't left yet, she walked over and asked, Yuanji, tell me about the time when I slaughtered everyone. Every time she stimulated her potential, Yun Chujio's memory of that time was very vague, which was why she asked this question. Yuanji thought of the situation at that time, and couldn't help but shiver. Although this female devil wasn't as abnormal as Biming, the scene at that time was also very horrifying. He described the situation in detail. Yun Chujio's blood was boiling when she heard it. She did not expect her little ninth fairy to be so arrogant and domineering. It was a pity that this potential would only be activated after being stimulated. It was really stifling. However, she could practice flying swords when she had the time. Although she could not use 49 swords for the time being, one more would increase her chances of winning. If it was just a simple sword move, she could have commanded 20 swords at the same time. However, she was using the sword techniques on the stone wall now. It was not easy for her to command 8 swords at the same time last time. It seemed that she really needed to practice. Besides, according to Yuanji, when she stimulated her potential, each of the flying swords could emit sword will. It was a heaven-defying operation. While Hei Shinjia was pondering over the flying swords, Xiao Mogu said with her soul consciousness, Master, the people of the Divine Devil Temple have reached the edge of the hinterland. Yun Chujio frowned slightly. She had just talked to a master lay. It would take at least 3 days for the people of the Zen sect to reach the hinterland. She had to think of a way to delay them. Fortunately, the hinterland was big enough. As long as she played hide and seek with them carefully, there should be no problem. However, Xiao Mogu quickly poured cold water on her. Master, the route of the Divine Devil Hall should be heading in our direction. They should have some way to track us. Yun Chujio subconsciously thought that those people had brought another Xiaotian hyena. However, she thought that it should not be. This Xiaotian hyena was very rare. It was already good enough for the Divine Devil Hall to have one. Soon, Xiao Mogu replied, Master, they didn't bring any spiritual pets. Yun Chujio frowned. This was strange. How did the people of the Divine Devil Hall know that they were hiding here? Soon she understood the crux of the problem. They were currently at the gathering place of the demon beast's nest. The people of the Divine Devil Hall should have received a report before, and knew that there were many demon beasts around her. Thus they guessed that they would be hiding here. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes, and decided to beat them at their own game. She immediately gathered the 5 beast kings together. These 5 unlucky fellows had seen Yun Chujio's pervert before. And now they were even more obedient. Yun Chujio told them what she thought. The 5 beast kings did not dare to have any objections, and agreed eagerly. Yun Chujio immediately arranged for Yuan Jia's subordinates to start setting up the place. After setting up the place, she left quietly. For hours later, under the leadership of the purple-masked man, Chi Huan, the people of the Divine Devil Hall arrived at the place where Yin Chujio and the rest were previously stationed. Chi Huan brought a total of 5,000 people and vowed to capture Di Biming and Yin Chujio in one fell swoop. This time, they brought the secret medicine to attract the demonic beasts. As long as they lured the demonic beasts to another place, they could easily kill Di Biming and the rest. Chi Huan looked at the messy footprints and claw marks on the ground and smiled contemptuously. It seemed that Di Biming and the rest must have hidden in the beast nest. He immediately got someone to light the incense made from the secret medicine and waited confidently for the demonic beasts to be lured away. Chapter 4977 was scared away. Chi Huan waited for a while, but no demon beasts were lured out. He couldn't help but wonder what was going on. This secret medicine had a fatal attraction to demon beasts. How could it be that not a single demon beast was lured out? The reason why the demon beasts chose this area as the gathering place for their nest was because the shrubs here were taller and denser compared to other places. Thus, the situation inside couldn't be seen from the outside. Chi Huan had no choice but to send a portion of his men in to investigate. However, a moment later, there were waves of miserable screams. Following that, some people ran out in a sorry state. "Sir, there isn't a single demonic beast inside. Furthermore, there are traps all over the place. Our men were careless, and many of them met with mishaps." Chi Huan gnashed his teeth in anger. These traps were naturally not thought up by the demonic beasts. It must be that Yin Chuji is doing. "Sir, what should we do now? They definitely don't dare to leave the hinterland. After all, they still need to rely on those demonic beasts. Search. We must find them." Yes, Yin Chujio was currently leisurely teasing the amnesiac snake in her sleeve pocket. Although a certain deity was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood, he still endured it for the sake of the big picture. Yin Chujio was not afraid that the people of the Divine Devil Hall would find her. After all, she had an army of mushrooms all over the hinterland. As long as she was careful, she could completely avoid the people of the Divine Devil Hall. What this guy was worried about now was that once the Zen sect helped him get out of trouble, how could he get out without giving up his money? While Chi Huan was leading his men to search for the traces of Yin Chujio and the others, he received a message from his men. "Sir, something bad has happened. Master Lai of the Zen sect is heading towards the wilderness with more than 10,000 disciples. Could he be coming for us?" Chi Huan turned pale with fright. One of the main reasons why the Divine Devil Hall did not make a big fuss in the Chongshao continent was because of the Zen sect. Could it be that they were really coming for them? However, the Divine Devil Hall and the Zen sect had always stayed out of each other's way and maintained the peace on the surface. Why did the Zen sect suddenly make such a big move? Chi Huan naturally did not dare to make a decision on such a big matter. After consulting the higher-ups, he gritted his teeth and left with his men. He Xinjiu soon found out that Chi Huan had left with her people through the Mushroom Army. Her heart was filled with joy. It seemed that the people of the Divine Devil Hall did not dare to confront the Zen sect head-on. They had given up. However, it was a good thing that they had taken the initiative to retreat. In this way, the Zen sect would not suffer any losses. If she played some tricks, the Zen sect would not be too calculative with her. Yin Chujio confirmed that the people of the Divine Devil Hall had all retreated, and then she returned to the nest of the demon beasts. The reason why she specially came back was very simple. She had set up a lot of traps in the nest of the demon beasts, and she had to help restore it. After restoring the nest of the demon beasts, Yin Chujio left a lot of elixirs for the 5 beast kings, and then she left with her people. As for the temporary contract, it could only be lifted after they were freed. Otherwise, it would be bad if the demon beasts turned hostile and refused to recognize them. Yin Chujio brought her people to the edge of the hinterland and happened to meet a Master Lei. and a group of Zen sect disciples. Amitba, almsgiver Yin, can you return the dawn bell and Shiwan wooden fish to me? Master Li said impatiently. Chapter 4978 Breaking Dawn Bell. And evening would fish Yin Chujio said with a smile. Master Li, a good meal is never too late. There's no need to rush, no need to rush. It's not safe yet. You have to escort me back to the Imperial City. For some reason, Master Li had an ominous premonition in his heart. His face darkened slightly. Benefactor Yin, this is an important matter. If you have even the slightest bit of deception, don't blame me for not remembering our old friendship. Yin Chujio's face was calm. Master Li, look at what you're saying. When have I ever lied? If I lied to you, you can do whatever you want with me. Hearing her words, the suspicion in Master Li's heart was dispelled a little. He nodded. All right, then I'll bring people to escort you back to the Lan family. Yuan Ji, who was at the side, almost sat on the ground. Oh my God. This female devil really dared to say that. The daybreak bell and the sunset wooden fish? Where did she get these two treasures? Let's see how she will answer this big lie in the end. Everyone immediately left the wilderness and headed to the Imperial City. After confirming that no one from the Divine Devil Hall was tracking them, Shui Wuji and Enfeng bade farewell and left. The reason why the two of them did this was to make Yuan Ji completely believe the fact that Di Baiming had gone missing. On the other hand, Di Baiming arranged for the two of them to handle some matters. Yin Chujio had given the two of them disguising pills. As long as they were careful, they would not be found by the people of the Divine Devil Hall. According to the experience of Shui Wuji and Enfeng, if it was just the two of them, the Divine Devil Hall would not be able to find them. However, as long as Di Baiming was around, no matter how well they hid themselves, the Divine Devil Hall would always be able to find their general location. Although it was not that accurate, the scope would be very small. However, after Di Baiming turned into a snake, there did not seem to be such a problem. It was really unbelievable. Master Li did not pay attention to this. His mind was now on the dawn bell and 11 wooden fish. He wished he could arrive at the Imperial City as soon as possible, so that he could get the great treasure of the Zen sect. On this day, everyone finally arrived near the Imperial City. Master Li said urgently, Almsgiver Yin, can you return the dawn bell and Shiwan wooden fish to me now? Yin Chujio nodded. After opening the isolation array, she summoned the Buddha's candle. The Buddha's candle was still in hibernation, so it only had a small wax head. It didn't light up, and it was basically unconscious. Master Li was stunned. Isn't this the Buddha's candle? How did it become like this? Moreover, I said that the breaking dawn bell and Shiwan wooden fish aren't Buddha's candle. Yin Chujio sighed. Master Li, you might not know this, but when I found the bell of dawn and the wooden fish of Shiwan in the purple masked man's storage ring, I couldn't believe my eyes. Yin Chujio shook her head repeatedly. The bell of dawn and the wooden fish of Shiwan are so dilapidated that it's impossible to tell that they are the most important treasures of the Zen sect. If it weren't for the Buddha's candle reminding me, I would have thought they were two pieces of junk. Master Li sighed and said, well, that's normal. The bell and the wooden fish were snatched by that female devil. Later she died. I think the bell and the fish must have suffered heavy injuries. Yin Chujio was stunned. When she found the demon sky bell and the wooden fish in the demon area, they had already suffered heavy injuries. Could it be that they had suffered heavy injuries because they saved her? While Yin Chujio was still in a daze, Master Li said, Almsgiver Yin, even though the dawn bell and the Shiwan wooden fish are very worn out, they are still important treasures of our Zen sect. Please return them to me. Chapter 4979 I am a grateful person. Yin Chujio came back to her senses and said, Master Li, I haven't finished my words yet. Buddha's candle was very sad after seeing the miserable state of the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish. It sucked the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish into its storage space. It said that it would nourish the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish with its own Buddhist power. As long as the Buddhist power was sufficient, it would be able to let the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish recover. I don't know if the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish have recovered or not, but the Buddha's candle has turned into this half-dead appearance. Yin Chujio paused for a moment, and then said with a pained expression, "How about this? You bring the Buddha's candle back to the Zen sect. After all, the Zen sect has Buddha's power and psyche power. I believe that the Buddha's candle will wake up very soon. This way, the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish can be released and returned to you. When the time comes, I will go and retrieve the Buddha's candle. After all, you have helped me a great deal this time. It is only right for me to make a little sacrifice." Master Lai was skeptical. He sized up Yin Chujio a few times, but did not find the slightest trace of guilt on her face. Just as he was about to ask Yuan Ji, Yin Chujio said mysteriously, "Master Lai, this is a secret of the Zen sect. There are some details that they do not know." Master Lai thought about it, and it made sense. Whoever got the treasure would not shout about it, not to mention that the little girl in front of him was full of evil thoughts. However, was what she said true? Seeing the situation, Yin Chujio said angrily, "Master Lai, are you suspecting me? For the sake of your Zen sect's dawn bell, and she one wooden fish, my Buddha's candle has already become this miserable. It's fine if you don't appreciate it, but you still suspect me?" Master Lai's face suddenly showed some embarrassment. He thought to himself that it was true. This little girl had even given up her Buddha's candle, so she should not be lying. Thinking of this, Master Lai said, "Ba. Thank you very much, Almsgiver Yin. When the Buddha's candle is restored, I will definitely personally bring it to you." Yin Chujio nodded. "No rush. Let it absorb more Buddha energy, so that it can help nourish the breaking dawn bell and she one wooden fish." "Master Lai, I don't mean to boast, but there are very few people like me who know how to repay kindness." Master Lai's face stiffened, but he still nodded and said, "In that case, I will take my people back to the Zen sect. Please go ahead, Almsgiver Yin." "Don't. You came all the way here. It's good to go in and have a cup of hot tea," Yin Chujio said with a smile. Master Lai was eager to return, so he was not in the mood to drink tea. After declining politely, he left with the Zen sect's people. Buttface said obsequiously, "Little fairy, this move of yours is simply killing two birds with one stone. Not only did you trick those old monks away, but you can also let the Buddha's candle replenish the Buddha's power as soon as possible. You have broken to a new height." Yuan Ji, who was at the side, was dumbfounded. Since Yin Chujio had activated the isolation array, he did not hear what Yin Chujio said to a Master Lai. He was puzzled. How did this female devil trick a Master Lai? However, the most important thing now was not the Zen sect, but their antidote. "Miss Jio, now that we have safely returned to the Imperial City, shouldn't you give us the antidote?" Yuan Ji asked carefully. Yin Chujio touched her nose. "Well, if I said that I didn't poison you, would you hate me to death?" Yuan Ji, 4980. No one would believe him if he told the truth. In chapter 4980, Yuan Ji was stunned for a moment. Then he said, "Miss Jio, don't joke anymore. Just give us the antidote quickly." The others also begged, "Miss Jio, please give us the antidote." Yin Chujio. He had told too many lies. Why did his conscience suddenly realize that no one would believe him if he told the truth? This fellow had no choice. He threw a few bottles of candy to Yuan Ji and the others and said, all right. It seems that all of you have learned well. I can't lie to you anymore." Yuan Ji and the others immediately swallowed the antidote. They muttered in their hearts. This female devil was different from the others. The antidote was still slightly sweet. After everyone finished eating the antidote, Two people immediately roared twice. They realized that there was no dizziness, and immediately felt that the poison had really been cured. Yun Chujio secretly laughed in her heart. These people were originally cultivators, so their endurance was naturally stronger than that of ordinary people. Previously, when they roared, they would feel dizzy. A large part of the reason was that they had exhausted both their spiritual power and physical strength. Now that they were all alive and kicking, it was natural that they would be fine after they roared. Yun Chujio glanced at them and then said with a faint smile, "When we go back, do you know what you can and cannot say?" Although Yun Chujio had a faint smile on her face, for some reason everyone shivered. The first image that appeared in their minds was the perverted performance of this female devil when she was slaughtering everyone. Yuan Ji asked tentatively, "Miss Jiu, then what can I say? What can't I say? Other than the matter of my spiritual pet, puppet and Qiying, and the matter of me feeding the gigolo's blood, you can say anything else. I usually don't threaten people. It's all up to the other party's self-awareness. You guys are very self-aware, right? Yuan Ji and the others. If you have the ability to say that, don't use that lousy kitchen knife to compare." Actually, Yun Chujio could let the nightmare beast weave a dream for them. But first, because Yuan Ji and the other spiritual power was relatively high, Yun Chujio was afraid of making a mistake. Secondly, the people of the Divine Devil Hall probably already knew about this. Sooner or later, the ancestor of the Lan family would also know about it. She only needed to buy some time. There was no need for too much trouble. Thirdly, every time Ming Yinshou used the ability to weave a dream, it would recover for a long time. It was better to save it for more important times. Finally, Yuan Ji represented everyone and expressed that he would not say anything. Only then did Yun Chujio put away her large kitchen knife and waved her claws. "Let's go into the city. The old ancestor must have missed me to death." "Yuan Ji, it's more like I want you to die." After everyone entered the imperial city, Yun Chujio did not return to the third room. Instead, she went straight to the ancestral residence. When Lan Luoyan saw Yun Chujio, she immediately pointed at her and scolded, "Yun Chujio, you troublemaker. You still know how to come back. It was because of you that Sister Xian returned to the Mu family in a fit of anger. That was why the Mu family had severed all ties with the Lan family. Moreover, now the Mu family, Zhuang family, and Qi family have formed an alliance to deal with the Lan family. This is all your fault." Yun Chujio immediately understood why the ancestor of the Lan family was so angry that he even cursed. It turned out that they were surrounded by enemies. It was likely that the Divine Devil Hall was involved in this. However, she did not know which family of the Mu family, Zhuang family and Qi family had joined the Divine Devil Hall. Or did they all join the Divine Devil Hall? Chapter 4981 is not about length. With fools. Lan Luoyan saw Yun Chujio not to make a sound. Thought she was guilty. The voices more sharply said, "Yun Chujio, if you still have a bit of conscience, take the initiative and fall dust. Brother distanced. Let him to purple smoke. Sister apologize." The others also echoed, "That's right, you can't compare with Mu Zian at all. If you know what's good for you, quickly apologize to Mu Zian. And don't bother Lan Luochen in the future. Yun Chujio, you're already extremely lucky to be able to return to the Lan family. Yet you still covet something that shouldn't belong to you. Do you still have any face?" Yun Chujio didn't do anything, but the little silver snake in her sleeve was furious. "This bunch of idiots. What nonsense are you spouting? This stinky girl is his fiancée, all right? That Lan Luochen is nothing. Still coveting? Would that ugly girl covet him? Shameless." Yun Chujio and the rest of the crowd quieted down a little before chuckling. As the saying goes, if you don't argue with a fool, I'm in a hurry to meet the ancestor. I don't have the time to talk nonsense with you. Get out of my way, or I'll kill all of you. Lan Luoyan sneered twice. "Yun Chujio, you're still so arrogant now? You've caused such a huge disaster. Do you think the ancestor will still protect you? I'll let you learn your lesson today. As Lan Luoyan spoke, she released her spiritual power, the goshawk, and the spiritual power, the fire butterfly. She had already calculated in her heart. Although she was not confident of defeating this Yun Chujio, there were still so many people behind her. As long as she took the lead, the others would definitely act immediately. Yun Chujio lightly jumped to the side and said to Yuan Ji, "Catch this fool for me, let her learn a lesson." Yuan Ji's heart was like a dog that was bawling, but he did not dare to disobey. Yuan Ji's spiritual power was much higher than Lan Luoyan's, and he was able to subdue Lan Luoyan in a few moves. Lan Luoyan was so angry that she cursed. "Yuan Ji, you are just Brother Lichen's dog, and you dare to offend your superior? Are you crazy?" However, he quickly recovered his calm expression. At this moment, Yun Chujio gave Lan Luoyan 2 tight slaps. "Who are you calling a dog? Don't you know the principle that the strong are respected? Yuan Ji is much stronger than a fool like you. Since you don't know how to speak human language, I'll teach you a good lesson." As she spoke, Yun Chujio gave Lan Luoyan another 2 slaps. Lan Luoyan instantly turned into a pig's head and barked like a pig being slaughtered. Yuan Ji never thought that Yun Chujio would actually speak up for him. The feelings in his heart were a little complicated. After Yun Chujio finished beating up Lan Luoyan, she looked at the others and sneered. Who else was barking just now? "All of you slap yourselves in the mouth, or else I'll make a move." Lan Luocheng and the others had gone to the cultivation room to cultivate, so the remaining people were basically Lan Luoyan's lackeys. Now that Lan Luoyan had been dealt with, and Yuan Ji was obviously in cahoots with Yun Chujio, they were a little scared. However, it was too embarrassing to slap themselves, so they all retreated a few steps in fear, and did not make a move. Yun Chujio kicked Lan Luoyan to the side, and then said to Yuan Ji, "Beat her up, 2 slaps for each person." Yuan Ji was now on the boat of thieves, so he could only do as he was told. When those people saw that Yuan Ji was going to make a move, they scattered like birds and beasts, and turned around to run into the ancestral residence. They did not believe that Yun Chujio would still dare to be so arrogant in the ancestral residence. Chapter 4982. Breaking your legs. Yun Chujio said coldly behind them. "If you still don't stop, I'll break your legs the next time I see you." A few people stopped in fear, but there were still a few people who continued to run forward, because they felt that Yuan Ji couldn't follow Yun Chujio at any time. The next time they met, they might not be able to beat each other up. Yun Chujio walked in front of the few people who stopped and said indifferently, "Slap yourself, and this matter will be over." The few people looked at each other, gritted their teeth, and slapped themselves. They also understood that they could at least slap themselves a little. "You can leave now. If I hear you say bad things about me in the future, I'll cut off your tongues. Get lost." Yun Chujio said coldly. The few of them trembled under Yun Chujio's cold gaze, and immediately ran away. Yun Chujio glanced at Yuan Ji, who was behind her. "You remember the few people who ran away before, right? Find an opportunity to break their legs. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Miss Jiao." Yuan Ji braced himself and answered. Yuan Ji's heart was like a beeping dog. Shouldn't this female devil be worried about the old ancestor's punishment now? She actually had the leisure to deal with these idiots? She had caused too much trouble this time. The old ancestor would definitely not be kind this time. He would definitely lock her up in the forbidden area, or give her a heavy punishment. She still wanted to break those people's legs. Perhaps the old ancestor would break her legs. The amnesiac snake in his sleeve pocket had completely different thoughts from Yuan Ji. He thought that the ugly girl was still passable. At least she didn't embarrass him. However, she was too kind and soft-hearted. She should have slapped those idiots to death. Yun Chujio's torment at the door naturally reached the ears of the Lan family's old ancestor. The old ancestor smacked the table angrily. This troublemaker. She was still so arrogant. She would definitely learn a lesson later. However, The old ancestor drank 2 pots of tea and did not see Yin Chujio coming over. He sent a message to housekeeper Sue. Where is that troublemaker? Old ancestor, cousin said that she is hungry and is eating in the big kitchen. The old ancestor's nose almost went crooked from anger. He was waiting here anxiously. That troublemaker actually went to eat. Tell her to get her ass over here right now. Without thinking, the old ancestor directly threw a teacup over, and then heard a muffled sound. Then he heard Yin Chujio shouting loudly, "Ayo, ayo! I can't take it anymore, I'm going to faint." The old ancestor could not help but feel a little regretful. It was not that his heart ached, but he felt that if Yin Chujio fainted, he would not be able to ask questions. Just as the old ancestor was feeling regretful, he saw the situation at the door and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He saw that the troublemaker was fine, and the one who was hit by the teacup was housekeeper Sue. At this time, he heard Yin Chujio say hypocritically, "Housekeeper Sue, I told you not to leave so quickly. Now you've been hit, right?" Housekeeper Sue held his bleeding forehead, and his heart was like a dog crying. She was clearly the one who insisted that he walk in front, okay? She even said that she respected the elders and respected the virtuous. Bah! It turned out that she had already planned it. But what could he say? This troublemaker had a belly full of bad water. He could not afford to provoke her. Moreover, if he said too much, he might provoke the old ancestor and make him unhappy. Therefore, housekeeper Sue could only bite his teeth and swallow it in his stomach. He did not dare to make a sound. Chapter 4983 had already made a move seeing housekeeper's thus miserable state. The old ancestor of the Lan family waved his hand, indicating that he could leave. Housekeeper Sue held his forehead and left the old ancestor's courtyard. Yuan Ji, who was waiting outside the door, could not help but be stunned. "Housekeeper Sue, what happened to you?" Housekeeper Sue smiled bitterly and shook his head. He did not say anything and waited outside the courtyard with Yuan Ji, because he felt that the old ancestor had to punish that troublemaker. It was better for him to wait here in case he had to rush over later. As for Yuan Ji, he was waiting here for the old ancestor's inquiry. He thought that the female devil would definitely be severely punished this time. At this time, only the old ancestor of the Lan family and Yin Chujio were left in the study room of the old ancestor of the Lan family. Yin Chujio bared her white teeth and bowed respectfully. "Patriarch, thanks to your advice, I got the help of the Zen sect. You are really smart. If it weren't for your unparalleled wisdom, I wouldn't have survived. My admiration for you is like a torrential river. Tell me, why are you so powerful?" As Yin Chujio had deliberately delayed her arrival for a while, the anger in the ancestor of the Lan family had dissipated a little, and the teacup earlier had dissipated a little. Now that he had been flattered, a part of it had dissipated. The ancestor of the Lan family glared at Yin Chujio, but he did not let her get up. Instead, he said directly, "Tell me what happened." Hei Shinjio told him everything immediately. Of course, she couldn't hide everything. The more the ancestor of the Lan family heard, the more shocked he became. Whether it was her ability to subdue the demonic beasts, or the massacre when she activated her potential, he found it unbelievable. Although he had thought that the little girl had hidden a lot of her abilities, he didn't expect her to be so amazing. The old ancestor steadied his mind and asked again, "Why did you go to Mount Meru previously?" Yin Chujio blinked her eyes and thought for a moment before answering truthfully, "I was struck by lightning. I can only cultivate after being struck by lightning." Only then did the old ancestor notice that Yin Chujio's spiritual power level had already reached the 3rd level of the extreme spiritual realm. Although he had a rough guess before, he was still shocked when he heard Yin Chujio's words. After being stunned for a moment, he asked again, "I remember that the lightning strike lasted about 6 hours, and the lightning struck your body?" Yin Chujio nodded and pouted. "That Wu Yin was too useless. I hadn't absorbed enough, and it was scared away by me." The old ancestor of the Lan family. Wu Yin was scared away? What kind of pervert was this? He finally understood why this troublemaker was still alive and kicking even though her spiritual power was so useless. So she was a pervert. After a long silence, Lan family's ancestor said with a gloomy face, "No matter what, you've caused a great disaster this time. Because you've offended the Divine Devil Hall. The Divine Devil Hall secretly instigated the Mu family, Zhuang family, and Qi family to deal with our Lan family. Right now they are only invading our territory as a test. I reckon that they will soon resort to force. At that time, our Lan family will not be a match for the three families at all. If you can let the Lan family get through this crisis, I can let you off this time. Otherwise HMPH. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes a few times and said, Old ancestor, I am a member of the Lan family. It is naturally incumbent on me to contribute to the Lan family. Don't worry, I have already made the first move. The three families will soon return to their original states. Chapter 4984. Was out of whack. The ancestor of the Lan family was stunned. He has already made the first move. What move? This troublemaker had just gotten out of trouble, so how would he have time to set up any moves? Ancestor, do you know why I asked the people of the Zen sect to escort me to the outside of the imperial city? It was because of our next move. Next, we will spread the news that the Zen sect is on good terms with the Lan family. And they came all the way to save me. Those three families will definitely be wary of us. Now that the Divine Devil Hall has no idea about the Zen sect's intentions, they will definitely not order those three families to do anything. Then, the Lan family's crisis will be resolved. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The Lan family's patriarch was dumbfounded. She had asked the Zen sect to send her back, not only because she was afraid of death, but also because she was afraid of death? There were so many considerations. The Lan family's patriarch was silent for a long time again. He asked in puzzlement, By the way, what reason did you use to ask the Zen sect for help? I said that I got the Dawn Bell and the Shiwan wooden fish from the Divine Devil Temple. As long as they save me, I will return the things to them. Yun Chujio did not hide anything. The patriarch of the Lan family was shocked. You really got them? Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth. No, I lied to them. The patriarch of the Lan family. Since you lied to them, why didn't the Zen sect pursue you? Because I lied to them that the Dawn Bell and the sunset wooden fish were severely damaged. So the Buddha's candle kept them in its body and nourished them with Buddha's power. When they were fully nourished, it would be released. So Master Lai brought the Buddha's candle back to the Zen sect, Yun Chujio said with a smile. The Lan family's patriarch was stunned at first, then he cursed in his heart. This troublemaker was really full of evil tricks. He had a nose and eyes. No wonder he had fooled the people of the Zen sect. However, this troublemaker was an iron rooster. Was he really willing to return the Buddha's candle to the Zen sect? The ancestor of the Lan family explained his question, and Hei Shinjio laughed dryly. The Buddha's candle has fallen into hibernation because it helped me deal with the enemy, and it needs a lot of Buddha energy to nourish it. So ancestor, you know what I mean. The ancestor of the Lan family. How wicked. This troublemaker was so evil that flowers were blooming. If the monks of the Zen sect knew the truth, they would probably strangle this guy to death, right? Therefore, the Zen sect will not deny the rumors that the Lan family spread. In this way, won't the rumors be confirmed? Hei Shinjio laughed like a wolf with a big tail. The forefather of the Lan family sighed in his heart. This troublemaker's brain is really good. Every step she took was calculated. There was one thing she didn't say. With the support of the Zen sect, he didn't dare to do anything to her. Aren't you afraid that the Zen sect will find out the truth and take revenge on you in the future? The patriarch of the Lan family said slowly. Who can say for sure what will happen in the future? Besides, patriarch, maybe by that time, our Lan family will be able to compete with the Zen sect. Of course, I'm not afraid that the Zen sect will seek revenge on me, Hei Shinjio said with a smile. The patriarch of the Lan family gave a wry smile. Compete with the Zen sect. Now, I only hope that the Lan family can protect itself. Ancestor, you are too modest. You are so smart and farsighted. It won't take long for you to annex the three families. Hei Shinjio flattered her with a smile. Chapter 4985 was Find the old ancestor of the Lan family, let out a long sigh. If your great-uncle and great-grandfather were still alive, I would naturally have such confidence. It's just a pity that the Lan family has already declined. Yun Chujio knew that the great-uncle and great-grandfather, that the old ancestor of the Lan family mentioned, was referring to Lan Dimeo's father's generation. Speaking of this, she was really curious. How did Lan Dimeo's previous generation all die? However, she did not dare to ask now. It was not easy to appease the old fox's anger, so she did not want to provoke him again. Ancestor, why do you need to boost the prestige of others and destroy your own spirit? You alone can take on thousands of soldiers and horses. As long as we plan well, our Lan family will definitely be able to annex them. Hei Shinjio clenched her fist and said confidently. The old ancestor laughed bitterly and wanted to make Yun Chujio stand up. However, he realized that this troublemaker had already been sitting on a chair by the side. He paid too much attention to what she said and didn't pay too much attention to it. All right, you can go back first. As for your punishment, I'll see how the Mu family will react first. The old ancestor waved his hand and said, All right, old ancestor. Remember to spread the rumors. It's best to be vague and let them think about it themselves. Seeing that the old ancestor nodded in agreement, Yun Chujio bowed and hopped out of the study. Yes, before she left, she even took the pastries and spiritual fruits from the coffee table. The old ancestor gritted his teeth and didn't say anything. Housekeeper Su and Yuanji, who were outside the courtyard, saw that Yun Chujio had come out just like that. Both of them were in disbelief. The ancestor actually did not punish her? She had gotten into such a big trouble. But she was still fine? Hei Shinjio smiled at housekeeper Su, then took out a spiritual fruit and gave it to him. The ancestor gave it to you to let you recuperate. Housekeeper Su was touched when he saw that the spiritual fruit was indeed given to his ancestor by someone else. He immediately put it away. Yuan Ji thought that his ancestor would ask him to come in for questioning. But seeing that his ancestor did not seem to have the intention, he had no choice but to follow Yun Chujio out of the ancestral residence. He was really curious, so he asked, Miss Jio, what did you tell our ancestor? Yun Chujio did not hide anything and told him everything. Then she said, You don't have to go back to the third room with me. When I need your help, I will naturally send a message to you. Yuan Ji did not dare to disobey, so he could only go back to the main room. He thought to himself, since only this female devil bullied others, he did not have to worry about her safety. Yun Chujio soon arrived at the door of the third room. As soon as she entered the door, she was called over by Lan Dimeo. Therefore, he was naturally filled with anger toward Hei Shinjio. However, Yun Chujio had already clung onto the old ancestor's thigh, so she was naturally not afraid of Lan Dimeo. She picked up what she could say and said a few words, then said, Uncle Grandpa, the old ancestor sent me to the wilderness this time. Otherwise, Yuanji wouldn't have followed me, right? However, this is a confidential matter. The ancestor didn't want me to say anything, so I could only bear the blame. Lan Dimeo didn't doubt it. After all, if she hadn't been sent by the ancestor and caused such a big trouble, she shouldn't have been released without any punishment. So Lan Dimeo asked a few more questions and let her go back to his courtyard. Chapter 4986. The one who decided not to speak anymore, Yin Chujio, hummed a little tune as she returned to her own courtyard. However, she found that the courtyard was deserted. There was no one there. She frowned. Where did Hong Ling and the others go? She frowned and sent a message to Lan Luofeng. I'm back. Come over for a while. Very soon, Lan Luofeng replied to her. She was clearly very excited. You came back alive. That's great. My mother forcefully brought me to my maternal home. I'll get my mother to bring me back now. The corners of Yin Chujio's eyes twitched. What did she mean by coming back alive? However, after thinking about it, she understood the reason why Jia Shi did this. Jia Shi was probably afraid that Lan Luofeng would be blamed and bullied. After all, Lan Luofeng and she had always been close, so it was a smart choice to hide out. After Yin Chujio replied to Lan Luofeng, she left the courtyard, ready to find someone to ask about the whereabouts of Hong Ling and the other two. Just as she left the courtyard, she happened to meet an old woman. She called out to the old woman and asked, Where did Hong Ling and the others go? The old woman's eyes flickered. This I don't know. Yin Chujio was very shrewd. How could she be deceived by an old woman? She immediately grabbed her clothes and said fiercely, Hurry up and tell the truth, or I'll kill you. The old woman was so scared that she was trembling. Fuck cousin, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Hong Ling and the other two made a mistake and were sent to the laundry room by Nanny Lu. I heard that the old woman was going to sell them to Spring Fragrance Restaurant today. Yin Chujio knew that Spring Fragrance Restaurant was a brothel in the Imperial City. The anger in her heart immediately rose. Good, very good. She even dared to touch her people. She was really courting death. Yin Chujio released the old woman's clothes and said coldly, Keep your mouth shut, or I'll torture you to death. The old woman said with trepidation, Yes. I didn't say anything. I don't know anything. Yin Chujio quickly jumped towards the laundry room. Her expression was very gloomy. That Nanny Lu was from the first Madame Zhuang Shi. Needless to say, this must have been instigated by Zhuang Shi. Very good. She originally did not have the mood to teach Zhuang Shi a lesson. Since she was courting death, then she would send her on her way. The small silver snake in the sleeve pocket sensed Yin Chujio's anger and said in a low voice, You're really useless. You can't even protect your own people. Shut up. You idiot who even forgot about your own fiancé. What right do you have to bicker here? Don't you know what kind of person you are? Yin Chujio was worried about Hong Ling and the other two, so she naturally did not treat a certain honored guest well. Actually, he had not spoken to Yin Chujio for a long time. He wanted to find a topic to talk about, but in the end, a certain someone decided to not say a word from now on. He wanted to make this ugly girl take the initiative to admit her mistake. Yin Chujio did not have the time to care about the thoughts of a certain someone. She quickly rushed to the laundry room. At this moment, in the courtyard of the laundry room, a fierce-looking old woman was spitting on the floor. Hong Ling, don't blame me for not remembering our old friendship. I'll show you a clear path now. Miss Xiang Yuan's brother, Shi Lu, has the intention to take you as a concubine. If you agree to marry him, he won't sell you to Spring Fragrance Restaurant. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Hong Ling spat. Nanny Lu, it's fine if you punish us to the laundry room with groundless accusations, but if you want to sell us to Spring Fragrance Restaurant, our miss will not forgive you if she comes back. Chapter 4987, You dare to touch my people? Nanny Lu laughed so hard that the fat on her face was trembling. You bitch, are you talking nonsense? That Yin Chujio might already be dead. Why would she come to save you? Dream on. Since you don't know how to appreciate favors, I can only sell all of you to Spring Fragrance Restaurant. Nanny Lu said as she looked at the woman who specialized in selling human beings. Granny Lee, I'll leave these three bitches to you. Granny Lee could not stop smiling. Hong Ling and the other two were all good-looking. She was going to make a fortune this time. Granny Lee was about to ask her people to bring Hong Ling and the other two away, when Hong Ling suddenly broke free from the old woman, who was restraining her. Then, she took out a thick stack of talismans. If any of you dare to move, I'll bury her with me. At the same time, Lu Luo and Kai Yun also broke free from the restraint and retreated to Hong Ling's side. They also took out a stack of talismans. These talismans were left for them by Yun Chujio for self-defense. They were originally sent to the laundry room. So the three of them felt that it didn't matter if they suffered a little. After all, their young miss might not be dead now. So they didn't want to stir up trouble. Who would have thought that this Nanny Lu would be so vicious? She wanted to sell them to such a dirty place. Nanny Lu never thought that Hong Ling and the others would have so many talismans. She took a few steps back and said in exasperation, "Little bitch, so what if you have talismans in your hands? Oh, go report to the first madam and send the guards over. Your broken talismans are useless." Nanny Lu was about to report to the first madam, Zhuang Shi, when she heard a cold voice. "You dare to touch my people? You're really tired of living." Before Nanny Lu could react, her fat body was kicked away and fell to the ground. Nanny Lu looked up and exclaimed, You bitch, why did you come back? Hong Ling, slap her. Let her know what it means to be superior and inferior. Yun Chujio said with narrowed eyes. Hong Ling saw that Yun Chujio had returned safely, and was so happy that she cried. She immediately felt confident, and walked up to Nanny Lu, to give her a few tight slaps. Yun Chujio glanced at the few handmaidens that Nanny Lu had brought with her. The few handmaidens remembered the cruelty of this young cousin, and immediately knelt on the ground, blaming everything on Nanny Lu. Yun Chujio ignored them, and looked at Nanny Lu. Tell me, who is involved in this matter? If you don't tell me the truth, I will cut off your tongue. In the eldest madam's person you can't. Nanny Lu screamed because Yun Chujio had cut off one of her fingers. Tell me, I'll tell you. It was Miss Xiang Yuan who gave me benefits. She asked me to take care of the three of them, or let Hong Ling marry her brother, or sell her to Chunxiang restaurant. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. What about other than Xiang Yuan? Nanny Lu shook her head. There's no one else. It's just that I don't like them. In addition to the benefits of Miss Xiang Yuan. So I was blinded by the lard. Please spare my life, miss. Yun Chujio sneered in her heart. It seemed that Zhuang Shi's methods were not bad. It seemed that she could not dig anything out from this Nanny Lu. Yun Chujio looked at the granny broker. This Granny Lu is for you. Remember to sell her to Spring Fragrance Restaurant. Otherwise, I will torture you to death. The granny broker was both afraid and troubled. This Granny Lu was old and ugly. Why would Spring Fragrance Restaurant want her? Chapter 4988 had never had any rules. The granny broker wanted to reject her. But when she saw Yun Chujio's cold gaze, she swallowed her words. She thought to herself, if worst comes to worst, she would just give this old and ugly Granny Lu to Spring Fragrance Restaurant for free. At this moment, the granny broker thought of a crucial question. Miss Cousin, where is her indenture? The granny broker was an old fox. This Nanny Lu was a servant. If she did not have the indenture, Spring Fragrance Restaurant would never dare to accept it. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Follow me. I will look for First Aunt to get her indenture. When Nanny Lu heard this, her eyes flashed with joy. First Madam would definitely not give the indenture to this slut. She had done so many things for First Madam. First Madam would definitely protect her. Yun Chujio saw the joy in Nanny Lu's eyes and did not say anything. She only asked Hong Ling and the other two to follow her to Zhuang Shi's courtyard. Zhuang Shi had only just learned that Yun Chujio had not only returned safely, but that her ancestor had not punished her. She immediately panicked. Before she could send someone to stop Nanny Lu, something had happened in the laundry room. Lan Luoshan comforted her. Mother, you don't have to worry too much. Nanny Lu doesn't have the guts to betray you. If the worst comes to the worst, we can just abandon her. No matter how much Yun Chujio can do, she's still an orphan. She doesn't have the guts to do anything to you. Zhuang Shi thought about it, and it made sense. In the Lan family's 3 branches, other than Lan Dimeo, who would dare to do anything to her. Even that bitch Jia sure didn't dare to do anything to her on the surface. Therefore, when Yin Chujio brought Nanny Lu and the others to the entrance of the courtyard, she was directly shut out. Miss Cousin, eldest madam is not feeling well and will not see any guests. If you have something to do, we can talk about it tomorrow. Zhuang Shi's maid Lian Xiao said with a fake smile. Yin Chujio reached out and slapped her. Brainless fool. Am I a guest? Get lost. Lian Xiao was stunned by the slap. Before she could react, Yin Chujio had already brought people into the courtyard. The maid at the door wanted to stop her, but she was frightened by Yin Chujio's cold gaze and did not dare to move. After all, Lian Xiao's face was still swollen. Zhuang Shi saw Yin Chujio barge in and could not help but slap the table. Yin Chujio, do you still think highly of me as your aunt? Don't you know that you need to report to the elders when you enter their courtyard? Lan Luoshan said softly from the side. That's right, little sister Jiao. You shouldn't have barged in here. If word gets out, it'll be said that you have no rules. Yin Chujio kicked Nanny Lu to the ground and then said with a faint smile. Rules? I've never heard of those two words. I'm not in the mood to play any tricks with you. I'll give you two choices. One is to voluntarily give me the indentures of Nanny Lu, Hong Ling, and the other two. The other is to give me 1 million high-grade spirit stones as compensation for mental damage. The other choice is to force you to do this. Hearing that, Zhuang Shi picked up the teacup and threw it on the ground. Yin Chujio, are you trying to rebel? I think you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're just an orphan girl from a low-grade continent. What right do you have to yell at me here? Yin Chujio took out cheap one from her storage ring and said casually, with this sword in my hand, I'll count to 3. If you don't do it, I'll kill this Granny Lu. Chapter 4989, Thank you. Aunt Zhuang Shi was furious. You, how dare you? Puffed. Yin Chujio stabbed Granny Liu's throat with her sword. Granny Liu's fat body immediately fell to the ground. Zhuang Shi had never dreamed that Yin Chujio would actually dare to kill Granny Liu. Her expression immediately changed and she shouted, Men! Men! Quickly, men! There were many guards outside the courtyard. They immediately rushed into the courtyard, and one of them, a small leader, brought a few people into the house. Zhuang Shi saw the few guards and instantly felt confident. She said viciously, Take down this Yin Chujio who has offended her superiors. Before the small leader could do anything, he heard Yin Chujio say coldly, If you don't want to die, then get the hell out of here. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you. The leader was Zhuang Shi's trusted aide, so he naturally would not be threatened by Yin Chujio. He was at the 6th level of the extreme spiritual realm, so he did not put Yin Chujio, who was at the 3rd level of the extreme spiritual realm, in his eyes at all. He laughed sinisterly. Miss Cousin, I advise you not to resist. Otherwise, it would not be good if I don't show any mercy. As he spoke, he walked towards Yin Chujio, wanting to subdue her. However, the moment he got close to Yin Chujio, he stumbled. Yin Chujio's sword lightly slashed, and the head of the leader fell to the ground. Zhuang Shi screamed, and the other maids in the room also screamed. Yin Chujio curled her lips and took a few steps forward. This is not my fault. He came here by himself. Aunt, my patience has a limit. Do you agree to my conditions or not? Zhuang Shi looked at the blood-dripping sword in Yin Chujio's hand. She was both angry and afraid. Just as she was about to get the other guards to attack together, Lan Luoshan smiled and said, Mother, just do as little sister Jiao said and return Hong Ling and the other two's indentures to them. Then, give little sister Jiao 1 million upper-grade spirit stones. We are a family. Why do you have to make things so unpleasant? Zhuang Shi looked at Lan Luoshan in confusion, but she still said, All right, then do as Luoshan said. Then thank you very much, first aunt. Yin Chujio said with a smile. Zhuang Shi gritted her teeth and got someone to give the indentures of Hong Ling and the others to Yin Chujio. She also transferred 1 million upper-grade spirit stones to Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio nodded with satisfaction. First Aunt Sister Luoshan, sorry for the disturbance. I will take my leave now. Oh right, let me remind you. If you don't want to die, don't provoke me in the future. Otherwise, I will make the Zhuang family die with you. Zhuang Shi was so angry that she almost fainted. She said to Lan Luoshan, Luoshan, why did you stop me? This bitch is courting death. Mother, I just thought of something. She caused a huge disaster, but she didn't receive any punishment. There must be something wrong. If we rashly fight with her, we might incur the displeasure of our grandfather, or even our ancestors. That's why I stopped you. Zhuang Shi thought for a moment. What you said makes sense. But are we just going to let it go? Let that bitch humiliate us like this? That bitch is cooking by herself now. We don't even have the chance to poison her. I'm so angry. Mother, we're not the only ones who hate her. The people from the eldest and second branches also hate her. As long as I instigate her a little, someone will help us take care of her, Lan Luoshan said viciously. Chapter 4990. After Yin Chujio brought Hong Ling and the others out of Zhuang Shi's courtyard, she said to the granny broker, You almost took my people away today. Shouldn't you show me something? The granny broker apologized profusely. Miss Cousin, I'm sorry. I was deceived by that nanny Lu. It's all my fault. Please spare me. Yin Chujio said coldly. If a few words of apology can solve the problem, why do you still need the sword in my hand? The granny broker was dumbfounded. What did this mean? This jinx was not going to kill her as well, right? Hong Ling reminded her kindly. You have to be sincere in your apology, such as spirit stones. Do you understand? Yin Chujio looked at Hong Ling with appreciation. This child was worth teaching. The old woman almost cried. She had failed in this deal, and she still had to pay for it. However, when she thought about how this person had killed 2 people in a row, if she didn't do it, her life would probably be over. So she could only take out 10,000 high-grade spirit stones with heartache. Miss Cousin, these spirit stones are my compensation. Yin Chujio's face darkened. Are you trying to send a beggar away? The old woman took out 100,000 high-grade spirit stones in the end and ran away. Oh God, she would never come to the Lan family again. It was too scary. Yin Chujio ignored the old woman who had left. Instead, she brought Hong Ling and the other 2 to the stables and killed the stone road that was coveting Hong Ling. The people in the stables did not even dare to say a word. They just watched Yin Chujio leave with her people. Hong Ling originally thought that Yin Chujio would bring them back to the courtyard. However, she did not expect that she would bring them directly to the ancestral residence. The moment Yin Chujio entered the ancestral residence, she said to the guard, Call housekeeper Su over here. Soon housekeeper Su, whose forehead was still wrapped in a cloth, ran over happily. Miss Cousin, why are you looking for me? Xiang Yuan is bold enough to sell my 3 handmaidens to Spring Fragrance Restaurant. What do you think we should do about this? Yin Chujio said coldly. Housekeeper Su cursed Xiang Yuan in his heart. This fool, did he not learn his lesson from the last time? She actually came to provoke this female devil again. She was really courting death. Yin Chujio nodded her head in satisfaction. Housekeeper Su, you're really not bad. In the future, you'll have to go out to do some errands. I'll leave the safety of my 3 handmaidens to you. Housekeeper Su secretly complained in his heart, but he didn't dare to refuse. He could only grit his teeth and say, Miss Cousin, if you're not here, they can come to me if they have any difficulties. I'll definitely do my best. Yin Chujio nodded in satisfaction once again, and then passed him 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. I'll give it to you. Housekeeper Su almost cried. Oh God, the iron rooster has finally plucked feathers. It really wasn't easy. At this time, Xiang Yuan had already been brought over. Xiang Yuan knew that the matter had been exposed when she saw Hong Ling and the other 2, and her face couldn't help but turn pale. Yin Chujio glanced at Hong Ling and said, Hong Ling, I'll hand her over to you. You can do whatever you want with her. Hong Ling was stunned. Then with red eyes she said, Thank you, miss. After Hong Ling said that, she walked to Xiang Yuan and said, Xiang Yuan, just because your brother coveted my looks, you tried every means to frame me. You're really vicious. Right now, Xiang Yuan only wanted to save her life. She pleaded, Sister Hong Ling, I was wrong. Please spare me. I will definitely make it up to you in the future. Xiang Yuan's words came to an abrupt stop because Hong Ling had directly cut her throat. Miss had said before that being merciful to the enemy was cruel to oneself. She could not let Miss down. Chapter 4991. The original body was detoxifying. Housekeeper Su saw that Hong Ling had killed Xiang Yuan and cursed in his heart. Indeed, the kind of master had the kind of maid. This Hong Ling was originally a gentle character, but now she had become so fierce. Yin Chujio was very satisfied with Hong Ling's decisiveness in killing. She said to housekeeper Su, Since the matter has been settled, I'll go back now. See you later. What could housekeeper Su say? He could only respectfully send this fiend out. It was better to stay away from this fiend in the future. One could not afford to offend him, but one could hide from him. He Xinjiu brought Hong Ling and the other two out of the ancestral residence in a swagger. They strolled around the streets, and even specially made a meal in the restaurant. In the name of it, they were going to get rid of the bad luck. It was not until the sky gradually darkened that they returned to the third branch of the Lan family. When they reached the courtyard, He Xinjiu washed up. Before she fell asleep, she felt as if she had forgotten something. Forget it. It was probably nothing important. Let's talk about it tomorrow. In her sleeve pocket, a certain someone was sulking with an empty stomach. This ugly girl was getting more and more outrageous. She did not even give him food. Was she trying to starve him to death? Could it be that she wanted him to ask her for food pitifully? He didn't care about the food that was given to him. He would rather starve. Moreover, he was a dignified supreme emperor, so he naturally had to sleep on the bed. He didn't want to sleep in the sleeve pouch. Hence, when he noticed that Yin Chujio was already fast asleep, he crawled out from the sleeve pouch and climbed onto the bed. A certain deity's vertical pupils stared coldly at Yin Chujio, thinking that he would definitely teach her a lesson when he recovered. Coincidentally, at this moment, Yin Chujio flipped over and coincidentally pressed her arm on the small silver snake's body. The small silver snake finally crawled out from under Yin Chujio's arm after a long time. It could not help but feel a little indignant. It climbed onto the pillow and stared at Yin Chujio's sleeping face with its vertical pupils. It let out a cold snort. How ugly! At this moment, Yin Chujio turned over. The small silver snake did not react. Its head coincidentally bumped into Yin Chujio's lips. Then the small silver snake had a nosebleed. Oh my, this was a good thing to celebrate. However, she quickly gave up on this thought, because the position was not right. The blood spread all the way to the ground, and there were even a lot of blood stains on the clothes on the chair. Yin Chujio's heart instantly sank. Could it be that something happened to the gigolo? She did not have time to think too much. She jumped to the ground barefooted and opened her sleeve bag in a hurry. When she saw that the silver snake was perfectly fine, she finally let out a sigh of relief. You're not injured, right? Is this blood yours? Yin Chujio picked up the small silver snake and asked while examining it. A certain being snorted coldly. I don't know. It has nothing to do with me anyway. Yin Chujio saw that the small silver snake didn't have any wounds on its body. She was puzzled. Then where did this blood come from? Men and women shouldn't be intimate. Quickly put me down. A certain being said coldly. Yin Chujio curled her lips and threw a certain venerable on the table. Because there was blood in her sleeve bag, it couldn't be used anymore. The small silver snake saw Yin Chujio's curled lips and couldn't help but remember what happened yesterday. The small silver snake's nosebleed spurted out again. What are you looking at? This venerable one is just detoxifying. a certain venerable said confidently with 2 lines of nosebleed. Chapter 4992. You're not too bad looking. Yin Chujio was dumbfounded. When did this pretty boy become so shameless? Detoxification? Detoxification my ass. Too shameless. Yin Chujio threw her clothes on the small silver snake angrily. A certain someone who was pressed under the heavy clothes said without fear of death. You're thinking too much. You're so ugly and your figure isn't good. Do you think that anyone would want to see you? Yin Chujio's hand that was putting on her clothes immediately stopped. Was she hot or ugly? Her figure wasn't good either? A certain being didn't know that he had stepped on the cat's tail. So he continued to say in a suicidal manner, it's fine if you're ugly, but you're always putting on airs. People should know their limits. Before the certain being could finish his words, Hei Shinjo picked up his tail and threw it against the wall. Pretty boy, I gave you some face, didn't I? I'll turn you into a dead snake today. Even if he turned into a snake, his body was still very tough. Therefore, it was not a big deal for Hei Shinjo to throw him like that. However, he felt that his face had been trampled on and said coldly, ugly girl, you are courting death. Ugly girl? Hei Shinjo was even angrier. This pretty boy had not lost his memory, he was rebelling. Therefore, he fell even harder. The venerable felt dizzy after being thrown, and he felt even more humiliated. He angrily said, ugly girl, stop right now, or I won't be polite anymore. Yin Chujio immediately stopped moving. The silver snake was secretly delighted. It seemed that he had scared this ugly girl. At this moment, he heard Yin Chujio say word by word, you actually threatened me? So what if I threatened you? You treated this venerable self like this. This venerable self has already given you a lot of face by not killing you. Hearing this, Yin Chujio directly threw the small silver snake on the ground. Then she lay on the bed and sobbed. The little silver snake immediately froze. Why was she still crying? He didn't say anything. This ugly girl was so thick-skinned that she didn't even cry when she was in danger. Why was she crying so sadly now? The little silver snake only felt pain in his heart, and his mind was filled with regret. If he had known that this ugly girl loved to cry, he wouldn't have said anything earlier. A moment later, the little silver snake said stiffly, I didn't say anything. Why are you crying? I'm just trying to scare you. I won't do anything to you. Hei Shinjo cried even more sadly. Sob 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 sob. You are no longer a gigolo who dotes on me and pampers me. A gigolo won't say that I'm ugly, won't say that I have a bad figure. Sob sob sob. A certain someone said dryly, actually, you are not that ugly. No, what I mean is that you are not ugly. Your looks are passable. Hei Shinjo. You are passable. Your whole family is passable. A certain someone also felt that what he said was wrong. He added, I mean your looks are quite pleasing to the eye. Quite good looking. After saying that, a certain honored warrior's body turned pink again, and he felt uncomfortable all over. Then you said that my figure is not good? Tell me, do you like the magnificent ones? Hei Shinjo said fiercely with tears on her face. Hearing that, a certain honored warrior said anxiously, nonsense. I don't like steamed buns, so I like them. I like little tangyuan. Chapter 4993 Dreamed of a snake. Little Tangyuan? Hei Shinjo cried even harder. Tangyuan was not big to begin with, and it was still little Tangyuan. This was a blatant mockery. She also wanted to have waves, but because of the damn Guai Chao, she did not come to Kuei for a long time. It was already very good that she could be this big, okay? Furthermore, it was clearly big Tangyuan. The Guai Chao in her dantian was pretending to be dead, because it had a premonition that it was going to be scolded again. It was all because of that pretty boy. Was he stupid? He deserved to be turned into a snake. Seeing Yin Chujio crying even more sadly, A certain venerable was immediately paralyzed. Did he say something wrong again? A certain venerable was frustrated by Hei Xinjia's crying and did not know how to comfort her. He said anxiously, "It's not small. It's really not small. It's much bigger than mine." Hei Xinjiu. She was a young girl who was older than a man. Was this something to be proud of? This damn gigolo must have humiliated her on purpose. She was so angry. This elder was really dumbfounded. Why was everything he said wrong? If he had known this would happen, he would not have said anything. Fortunately, at this moment, Hong Ling's voice came from outside the door. "Miss, third elder wants you to go to the study." Yin Chujio had activated the isolation array previously, so Hong Ling did not know what had happened in the room. Moreover, Hong Ling and the other two were very conscious. Unless there was an emergency or Yin Chujio called them, they would not come to the main house. "Got it. Oh, go over now," Yin Chujio replied. Yin Chujio's eyes were red, and she did not even look at the small silver snake. She put the clothes that were stained with blood into her storage ring. As for the blood stains on the bed, she did not care. Anyway, Hong Ling would not say anything. Yin Chujio thought for a moment and put the small silver snake into her sleeve bag. Then she did not wash up. She just left the room with her hair disheveled and red eyes. Hong Ling was shocked. "Miss, what happened to you?" "I had a nightmare last night. I was chased by a damn snake for the whole night," Hei Xinjiu said in a hoarse voice. Yin Chujio snorted coldly. "No need. I castrated that snake in my dream." Hong Ling. "Miss, is it really good for you to be so cruel?" The small silver snake in the sleeve pocket couldn't help but shiver and subconsciously coiled its body together. "Miss, you haven't had breakfast yet. Do you want to eat something first before going over?" Hong Ling asked. "No, I'm not in the mood. I think that old white lotus from Zhuang sure has complained. It's better for me to go over earlier," Hei Xinjiu said lightly. Hong Ling said worriedly, "Miss, third elder won't punish you because of this, right? It's all my fault." Lu Luo and Kai Yun also looked at Yin Chujio nervously, feeling both worried and guilty. Yin Chujio glanced at them and then said word by word, "You are my people. It is only right and proper for me to protect you, so no one is right or wrong. In the future, if anyone dares to provoke you, beat them hard. I will take care of everything." Hong Ling and the other two were stunned for a moment, and their eyes turned red. They did not say any words of gratitude. All they could do was to put their lives on the line to live up to Miss' words. The little silver snake in his sleeve pocket felt rather upset. This ugly girl treated the maids better than him. He was starving to death. Chapter 4994 Dealing with the Old White Lotus. Hong Ling, come with me. I'll let you see how your miss deals with the White Lotus, Yin Chujio said with a cold smile. If she was in a bad mood, she could vent her anger on the Old White Lotus. Hong Ling immediately accompanied Yin Chujio to Lan Dimeo's courtyard. Zhu Yang was really shocked when he saw Yin Chujio's appearance. "What happened to Miss Cousin?" Yin Chujio gestured at Zhu Yang with her finger. Zhu Yang hesitated for a moment before walking over. "Cousin, what can I do for you? Is my aunt in there?" Zhu Yang nodded. "Not only is the eldest madam in there, Miss Luoshan is also in there." Yin Chujio nodded and brought Hong Ling into the courtyard. The guards wanted to prevent Hong Ling from entering, but seeing that Zhu Yang did not say anything, they pretended not to see anything. Before Yin Chujio entered the study, she started howling. Great uncle, you have to make a decision for me. I can't live anymore." Hong Ling, who was behind Yin Chujio, was shocked. Was Miss crazy? Lan Dimeo, who was in the study, was about to drink tea when he was frightened by this shout. The teacup in his hand almost fell to the ground. He was about to scold Yin Chujio, but he was shocked by Yin Chujio's miserable state. Yin Chujio's hair was disheveled, her eyes were red and swollen, and there were tears on her face. She looked completely different from her usual lively appearance. "Woo, uncle and grandpa. I can't stay in the third room anymore. I've already packed my things. I'm here to say goodbye to you. Hey Shinjo wiped away her tears and said. Lan Dimeo's expression changed when he heard that. He slammed the table and said, Nonsense. Why can't I stay here anymore? Where do you want to go? He had yet to ask about the whereabouts of the jade token. Besides, the old ancestor obviously valued her. How could he let Yin Chujio leave? Great uncle, I don't want to leave either, but first aunt can't tolerate me. If I stay any longer, it'll be a nuisance. Although I'm thick-skinned, I still want my face. So, I don't want to wait for being chased out. I'd better take the initiative to leave. Moreover, I feel that if I continue to stay here, I'm afraid that I won't be able to keep my life. I was so afraid that I had nightmares all night. Sob, uncle, please let me go. I haven't lived long enough. Yin Chujio said sobbingly. She immediately said, Little Gio, you have to be honest when you speak. Everyone knows how I treat you. Your words have really disappointed First Aunt. That's right, First Aunt, you treat me extremely well. Before I even arrived, you placed 2 pots of poisonous flowers in my room. Later on, you poisoned my food. Taking advantage of my absence, you wanted to sell my 3 handmaidens to Spring Fragrance Restaurant. You're really good to me. Yin Chujio said with red eyes. You. Zhuang sure did not expect Yin Chujio to know about the poisonous flowers and the poison. She panicked for a moment. Lan Luoshan, who was beside her, saw the situation and said gently, Little sister Gio, you can't slander people. What poisonous flowers and poisons are all made up by you. Also, Hong Ling and the other 2 have broken the family rules. There's nothing wrong with Nanny Lu punishing them according to the family rules. Moreover, Granny Lu and Shirlu are slaves. If you kill them, so be it. You should never have shouted at my mother to kill her. Now you've reversed the facts and said that my mother can't tolerate you. Little ninth sister, aren't you going too far? Chapter 4995. Eat while it's hot. Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes. She wanted to play with her mouth. Tsk, she was really looking for trouble. Yin Chujio wiped away her tears. Uncle Grandpa, I'm dumb. I can't win against Sister Luosang. Anyway, justice is in the hearts of the people. I don't want to say anything more. Since eldest aunt can't accept me, I'm going to move to the ancestral residence. The old ancestor pitied me, so I should be able to find a place to stay. Lan Dimeo wasn't willing to let Yin Chujio move out. He immediately slammed the table and said, This matter ends here. Don't mention it again. After Lan Dimeo finished speaking, he shot a warning glance at Zhuang Shi. Zhuang Shi's heart was filled with hatred. This old fool, what kind of bewitching potion was this bitch giving him? Yin Chujio said with grievance, Great uncle. Aunt has always said that she's good to me. But ever since I returned to the Land family, I've never received my monthly allowance, not to mention the cloth and rouge. I didn't want to say it at first. After all, the family is peaceful and everything is prosperous. But since we've already talked things out today, don't you think you should ask Aunt to give me everything? Lan Dimeo glanced at Zhuang Shi. Is that so? Zhuang Shi's face suddenly stiffened, and she didn't know how to explain. Yin Chujio sneered in her heart. She hadn't mentioned these things before, because she wanted to take advantage of her? Wishful thinking. Aunt, I guess it's because you're too forgetful, so you forgot about this matter. How about this, let's not waste time. You can directly transfer 1 million high-grade spirit stones to me. Although I'll suffer some losses, I'll accept it. Yin Chujio blinked her eyes and said. Zhuang Shi was so angry that she almost vomited blood. 1 million. Why didn't she rob him? Those monthly fees and rouge powder were at most 200,000. But she actually wanted 1 million? She had already extorted 1 million from her yesterday. And now she still wanted to extort her. At this moment Lan Dimeo said, Boss, let's do as little Gio says. Zhuang Shi was furious, but she did not dare to disobey Lan Dimeo's orders. She could only transfer 1 million upper-grade spiritual stones to Yin Chujio painfully. then found an excuse to leave. She was afraid that if she did not leave now, Yun Chujio would come up with some bad ideas to blackmail her again. Zhuangshi was furious. Just as she was about to turn around and argue, she was dragged away by Lan Luoshan. In the study, Lan Dimeo glared at Yun Chujio. Stop spouting nonsense. In the future, you better restrain yourself, or else I won't let you off so easily. Yun Chujio bared her white teeth. Uncle Grandpa, what I said is true. I heard that the Zhuang family has been doing well in recent years. Hearing this, Lan Dimeo was more or less suspicious of Zhuangshi. This was also what Yun Chujio wanted to achieve. Regardless of whether it was true or not, it was good to give Zhuangshi some trouble. Alright, I got it. You can go back. Take care of yourself. Lan Dimeo waved his hand and said impatiently. After Yun Chujio bowed, she brought Hong Ling out of the study. Hong Ling was completely in awe of her young miss. Not only did Zhuangshi fail to sue her, she even paid 1,000,000 upper-grade spirit stones. She was probably going to vomit blood from anger. The two of them returned to the courtyard. Lu Luo and Kai Yin heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Yun Chujio was safe and sound. Lu Luo smiled and said, "Young miss, you must be famished, right? Hurry up and eat your breakfast. I specially cooked your favorite glutinous rice balls today. Eat them while they're hot." Chapter 4996 Breakfast. When Yun Chujio heard the word glutinous rice ball, she was instantly in a bad mood. She gritted her teeth and said, "I want to eat steamed buns, big steamed buns." Lu Luo and the other two were dumbfounded. Didn't their miss usually dislike steamed buns without stuffing? Why did she have to eat steamed buns today? "Miss, this steamed bun can only be steamed with the dough. Can we eat it at noon? If you don't want to eat glutinous rice balls, I even prepared xiaolong bao for you. It's your favorite crab roe stuffing," Lu Luo said carefully. Yun Chujio, xiaolong bao? Why couldn't she get rid of the word xiao? Forget it. No matter what, xiaolong bao was much bigger than Tang Yuan. Alright then, let's eat xiaolong bao. After Yun Chujio said that, her eyes rolled around. Bring the Tang Yuan over too. Lu Luo didn't know what was wrong with her miss, so she had to send all the breakfast she had prepared to the main house. Alright, you can all leave now. I'll call you if there's anything else. Yes. After Yun Chujio sent Hong Ling and the other two out, she threw the small silver snake on the table and placed the bowl of glutinous rice balls in front of him. She said fiercely, "Don't you like little glutinous rice balls? Eat them. If you don't eat all these glutinous rice balls today, I'll turn you into a eunuch snake." The small silver snake looked at the Tang Yuan in the bowl with its vertical pupils, then looked at Yun Chujio's pair of rabbit-like red eyes. It lowered its head and began to eat the Tang Yuan. The small silver snake snorted in its heart. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm just too lazy to argue with you. Besides, I'm hungry." Seeing that he was obedient, Yun Chujio snorted coldly and began to eat the soup dumplings while gnashing her teeth. After Yun Chujio had eaten her fill, she looked at the little silver snake that was still fighting with the glutinous rice ball. Suddenly, she was furious and directly pressed the little silver snake into the glutinous rice ball bowl. The little silver snake suddenly broke free from her hand. "Ugly girl, do you want to murder your husband?" Yun Chujio sneered. "Husband? Whose husband are you?" The little silver snake was both embarrassed and angry. "Don't go too far, or I will run away from home." "Run away from home? You are quite capable now. Go. I want to see where you can go." Hei Xinjiu had nothing to fear, because she was sure that the little silver snake had nowhere to go. He was so weak now. Where could he go? He thought for a moment and snorted coldly. "You want me to leave just like that? I want leave." Yun Chujio curled her lips. Once this pretty boy turned into a small silver snake, he would turn from an arrogant and shameless person. Tui. He was still a pervert. Yun Chujio could not be bothered with him anymore. She tied a knot and threw him at the corner of the wall. Then, She asked Hong Ling to come in and tidy up the bedroom and table. The moment Hong Ling entered, she saw the small silver snake tied in a knot at the corner of the wall. However, she tactfully didn't ask anything. However, when she saw the blood stain on the bed, she immediately lost her composure. "Miss, are you injured?" The corners of Yin Chujia's mouth curled up. "Don't worry, that's not my blood. I castrated that snake last night. This is his blood." Hong Ling looked sympathetically at the small silver snake in the corner. So it was a eunuch snake. The small silver snake was so angry that its vertical pupils were about to spit fire. It made up its mind that when he returned to his human form, it would definitely let this ugly girl know what it meant to be a husband. An amnesiac fiancé was also a husband. Chapter 4997 was just that Hong Ling packed her things and left. Only He Xinjiu and the angry little silver snake were left in the room. He Xinjiu saw that the little silver snake was so angry that its vertical pupils were about to cross over. She felt that the anger in her heart had dissipated a lot. She hummed a little song and pondered over her next step. After the old fox released the news of the Zen sect, the Mu family, Zhuang family, and Qi family would probably restrain themselves a lot. However, they would not stop there. They would definitely cause some trouble. However, these were all matters that the old fox should consider. It had nothing to do with her. Her priority now was to cultivate well. Counting the days, Mount Meru should be struck by lightning again. It was simply wonderful. However, cultivating step by step was too slow. It would be great if there was a way to completely stimulate the potential in her body. She recalled what Qiying had said. In her previous life, the relationship between her and the gigolo had developed in the heavy cloud continent. When she had time, she could go out for a stroll. Perhaps she would have some unexpected gains. Of course, she could not do it now. Whether it was the Divine Devil Hall or the other three families, they would most likely be disadvantageous to her. Fortunately, she had already stirred up the water in the heavy cloud continent. As long as she planned carefully, she would definitely be able to achieve her wish. The small silver snake in the corner saw Yin Chujia's sudden joy and worry. Its eyes were very bright, and the anger in its heart suddenly dissipated. There was even a strange hint of sweetness. After a certain honored guest realized this, the entire snake was instantly in a bad mood. What was wrong with him? After being scolded and tormented by that ugly girl, he actually still felt a hint of sweetness? Has he gone mad? After thinking for a while, he felt that he must be feeling guilty. After all, he had lost his memory and had forgotten about his fiancée. Guilt was inevitable. Yes, that was it. It was guilt. That was all. After thinking about understanding, he gathered his thoughts and began to cultivate. A man and a snake were busy with their own things. However, the room was filled with a faint sense of peace and beauty. The next day, Yun Chujio arrived at the ancestral residence early, but she did not attend the class. The spiritual power class was no longer of any use to her, because she was already certain that she could not conjure a spiritual beast to assist her. As for the body refining class, there was no need for her to attend it. She might as well go to the library to see if there were any books on alchemy and talisman making. Thus, this fellow went to find housekeeper Sue. "I've finished reading the books on the first floor of the library. I plan to go to the second floor to take a look, but my points are not enough. Help me think of a way." Housekeeper Sue looked at Hei Shinjio, who was playing truant, and looked troubled. "Miss Cousin, there are rules in the ancestral residence. If you don't have enough points, you won't be able to go to the second floor. I can't do anything about it." Yin Chujo glanced at him. "Housekeeper Sue, you took 10,000 high-grade spirit stones from me 2 days ago. Do you want to just take money and not do anything? If you don't help me think of a way today, I'll go to the ancestor and complain that you're blackmailing me." Housekeeper Sue wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was wondering why this iron rooster had plucked feathers 2 days ago. So it was poisonous feathers. Miss Cousin, I really have no choice. This rule was set by the ancestor. Why don't you go and ask the ancestor? Seeing that housekeeper Sue was about to cry, Yin Chujio knew that he really had no choice. She said with a smile, Housekeeper Sue, I was just teasing you. You didn't take it seriously, right? Chapter 4998 was just a little fox. What could housekeeper Sue say? He could only shake his head with a bitter smile. Yin Chujio comforted housekeeper Sue with a few more hypocritical words before she arrived outside the Lan family's patriarch's courtyard. After the guard reported the news, Hei Shinjio hopped into the patriarch's study room. Patriarch, little Jio has come to pay her respects to you, Hei Shinjio said with a smile. The Lan family's old ancestor snorted. Why didn't you go to class? Yin Chujio bared her little white teeth. Old ancestor, my situation is quite special. Even if I went through a lifetime of spiritual power lessons, I wouldn't be able to transform into a spiritual beast to assist me. Therefore, I plan to go to the library to read books. However, I don't have enough points and can't go to the second floor. Please show mercy. To Hei Xinjia's surprise, the Lan family's patriarch agreed immediately. He gave her a token and said, With this token, you can enter the library freely. You can enter any floor. Yin Chujio was so happy that her eyelashes were about to blossom. Thank you, patriarch. I know that you love me the most. I'll take my leave now. I'll come back to pay my respects to you another day. The ancestor of the Lan family nodded, and then Hei Shinjio left. After Yin Chujio left, an old man wearing a mask appeared in front of the ancestor of the Lan family. Master, are you planning to nurture this Yin Chujio? The ancestor of the Lan family nodded. Luo Chun is the best candidate, but to be on the safe side, it's good to have another candidate. However, she's not qualified yet. Let's wait until after the Divine Relic trial. Master, the Divine Relic trial this time is even more dangerous than usual. After all, the Mu family, Zhuang family, and Qi family will definitely join hands to deal with our Lan family. Do we still have to participate? The masked elder asked uncertainly. The Lan family's ancestor knocked on the table with his finger. Of course we have to participate. The path of cultivation is to fight against the heavens. As for the Mu family, don't they still have that troublemaker? The masked elder. Do you mean to let that troublemaker, Yin Chujio, lead the team this time? The masked elder almost blurted out troublemaker. But he changed his words in the end. After all, no matter how bad it was, he was still a young master. The Lan family's ancestor nodded. That troublemaker is full of bad ideas and has many tricks up her sleeve. She should be able to deal with it. If she can't handle it, then she doesn't have the qualifications to be a candidate. Master, this is a very important matter. If Yin Chujio isn't qualified, then all the young masters who go there will probably die. The price is too high. The old man said with some worry. If she doesn't have enough self-protection ability, then she will die. After all, there is still Luochen. The ancestor said coldly. The old man did not reply. Ever since the incident with Lan Dimeo's father, the Lan family's old ancestor had become more and more cold. Only when he faced Lan Luochen and Yin Chujio did he still have some warmth. After a moment of silence, the old man said, Master, that Yin Chujio is very intelligent. She might not be willing to participate in the Divine Relic trials, let alone become the leader of the Lan family. The ancestor of the Lan family picked up his teacup and took a sip of tea. He smiled and said, She's just a little fox. I have many ways to force her to submit. There's no rush. Anyway, there's still half a month. Let her prance around for a few days. Yin Chujio did not know about the conversation between the two. This fellow had already arrived at the library happily. The guard guarding the library saw the token that Yin Chujio took out and became even more respectful to her. He opened the enchantment of the second level of the library. Chapter 4999 Token as Lan Luoyan, and the others were still in class. Yin Chujio was the only person in the huge second-floor library. Yes, there was also a snake. Only then did Yin Chujio remember that the ancestor of the Lan family actually did not sense the small silver snake in the sleeve bag. This did not make sense. If the spiritual beast was in the spiritual beast bag, other people would not be able to sense it. However, the sleeve bag did not isolate spiritual sense. How could the ancestor of the Lan family, who had such a high cultivation level, not notice the gigolo? However, she did not ask the little silver snake. After all, who knew if there was any array formation inside the library? It would be terrible if that old fox discovered it. Yin Chujio temporarily put this matter to the back of her mind and began to read the books on the second floor. She planned to first read all the books on alchemy and talismans in the library, and then read other books when she had time. However, to her great disappointment, there were very few books on alchemy and talismans on the second floor. The few dozen books on alchemy and talismans were all already mastered by Yin Chujio. Therefore, she prepared to go to the third floor to take a look. However, she did not expect to coincidentally meet Lan Luoyan and the others who came up from the first floor, just as she was about to walk up the stairs. Lan Luoyan glanced at Yin Chujio, and it was rare that she did not make a sound. Her lackeys had all had their legs broken by someone. Even if she used her heel to think, she knew that it was Yin Chujio who had done it. Therefore, she now felt both hatred and fear towards Yin Chujio. Lan Luoshan, who was beside her, kindly reminded her, "Little sister Jio, the third floor requires 2,000 points. You shouldn't have that many points, right? So don't make things difficult for the guards. You'd better read on the second floor." Yin Chujio curled her lips and took out the token given to her by the ancestor of the Lan family. She waved it. "Sister Luoshan, you don't have to worry. I have the token given to me by the ancestor. I can pass through the library unimpeded." This time, both Lan Luoshan and the others were stunned. What? The ancestor actually gave her the token to pass through. Why? One had to know that even the Great Elder and the others had to rely on their points to enter the corresponding floors. But this troublemaker could pass through without any obstruction? The ancestor was too biased. Yin Chujio looked at their envious and jealous expressions and curled her lips. "Are you guys feeling very unbalanced? Do you feel very angry? There's no choice. The old ancestor only dotes on me. Don't you think it's infuriating?" Ha ha ha. Lan Luoyan saw that Yin Chujio had left, so she gritted her teeth and said, "This bitch is getting more and more arrogant. She really deserves to die." When Lan Luoshan heard that, her eyes flashed and she said, "Forget it. She is now the old ancestor's beloved flesh and blood. We, the direct descendants, are not as good as a person with another surname." Lan Lushan's words made the people present even more dissatisfied. Yes, they were all surnamed Lan. And that bitch was surnamed Yin. Was our ancestor muddle-headed? When Lan Luoshan saw the reactions of the crowd, she felt proud in her heart. Yin Chujio, that idiot, was so arrogant and stupid to the extreme. This time, she did not have to make a move. The others would have to think of a way to get rid of her. Yin Chujio had naturally thought of this, but she had already latched onto the old ancestor's thigh, and she had also hooked up with the Zen sect. She did not put Lan Luoshan and the others in her eyes at all. They were just a bunch of clowns. Moreover, the matter of her having a token would be spread out sooner or later. She might as well get angry at them. Chapter 5000. Dinner. Yin Chujio went to the third floor to sweep the area. But the result was still very disappointing. There were only about a dozen books on talisman seals and alchemy in the entire third floor. Yun Chujio also knew about the things recorded on them. This fellow could only go to the fourth and fifth floor to sweep again. In the end, he only found a few books on talisman seals and alchemy that could only be considered average. This fellow could not help but be greatly disappointed. He had thought that the Lan family's book collection pavilion would have many related books, but he did not expect to get so many. This fellow thought for a moment and understood. The Lan family members basically all had water spirit roots. Other spirit roots were very few, so they were not interested in making talismans and alchemy. In addition, high-level alchemy and high-level talisman making were confidential. It was no wonder that the Lan family's book collection pavilion did not have high-level alchemy and talisman making books. Fortunately, this guy had a big heart. He felt that it was better to have them than not to have them. So he memorized all the things recorded in those books. Yun Chujio was about to read other books, but because it was the stipulated time, she had to leave the library and prepare to come back the next day to read. Yun Chujio returned to the third room, washed up briefly, and began to eat dinner. This guy now had the awareness to feed the small silver snake, so the man and the snake ate dinner together. Yun Chujio remembered the question she had during the day and asked, "Why didn't that old fox sense your presence?" The small silver snake said coldly, "Of course it was because I used a method to conceal my aura." "Oh right. When you were talking to him today, I sensed that there was another person in the room, and his cultivation level was quite high." Yun Chujio thought that the person was old Tua, so she didn't care too much. Anyway, with the Zen sect, that old fox didn't dare to really do anything to her. Soon, Yun Chujio finished eating. She held her chin and looked at the small silver snake that hadn't finished eating. Although the small silver snake also had 4 small claws, it was obviously not very agile, so it ate very slowly. Even so, the noble aura that emitted from its bones was still pleasing to Hei Xinjia's eyes. This guy thought sourly in his heart that even if the pretty boy turned into a pig, he would probably have a halo of his own. As this guy was thinking, he saw the small silver snake stop its movement and said in a deep voice, "The pressure outside has become stronger." Yun Chujio was stunned at first, and then ran out of the house. It was now evening. There was still a hint of the setting sun in the sky, but at this time, the sky quickly darkened. Yun Chujio's eyes lit up. Could it be that the heavenly thunder had come earlier? This guy immediately jumped into the house and stuffed the small silver snake into his sleeve pocket. Then he ran out. When Yun Chujio reached the city gate was already closed. Yun Chujio said to the guards, "Open the city gate. I want to go out and do something." The guards looked at each other and hesitated. One of them said, "Miss Yun, you need a token to leave the city at night. Do you have a token?" Yun Chujio took out a large kitchen knife and said coldly, "Is this thing okay?" The guards, just when they were at a loss, Yun Chujio shouted sternly, "Open the door quickly. I have to go out to do something big. If I'm delayed, you guys will be in big trouble." The guards were still a little hesitant. After all, letting people out of the city privately was a big crime. Chapter 5001 blinded his snake eyes. Just as Yun Chujio was about to force her way in, Yuan Ji ran over from afar. He took out a token and handed it to the guards. When the guards saw this, they opened the city gate. Yun Chujio glanced at Yuan Ji. "Why are you here? Did you arrange a lot of spies outside the third room?" Yuan Ji smiled awkwardly but didn't deny it. "Forget it. Since you helped me out in time, I won't pursue you. What's the matter? Do you still want to taste the feeling of being struck bald?" Yun Chujio said with a half smile. Yuan Ji subconsciously touched his hair and said with lingering fear, "I'll stay far away this time. I shouldn't be struck." He didn't want to come from the bottom of his heart, but he was afraid that Yun Chujio would take the opportunity to escape again. So he had to bite the bullet and come. Yun Chujio smiled. "Don't worry, the Lan family is the safest place now. I won't go anywhere. However, if you're willing to follow, then follow. The two of them soon arrived at the foot of Mount Meru. Yuanji laughed dryly. Miss Jiao, I'll wait for you at the foot of the mountain. I won't go any further. Yun Chujio knew that he was afraid that he would be struck by lightning again, so she just smiled and entered Mount Meru. The small silver snake in her sleeve had always been suspicious. Now that only the two of them were left, she asked, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I feel that the pressure here is stronger than anywhere else. I'm afraid that heavenly lightning is about to descend." Yun Chujio said with a smile, "I'm naturally here to be struck by lightning. You still don't know, right? This Mount Meru will be struck by heavenly lightning once a month, and each time, the heavenly lightning will last for several hours. It's simply a good place that can't be found even with a lantern." The little silver snake was stunned at first, then it roared. "Since you know that the lightning here will last for several hours, why did you come here? Are you stupid?" Yun Chujio was stunned, and then she realized that Di Biming had lost all his memories about her. So he naturally did not know that she was not afraid of being struck by lightning. Therefore, he explained, "Don't worry, I have a heavenly lightning spiritual root, so I'm not afraid of being struck by lightning. The longer the lightning, the better." A certain person was so angry that he was dumbfounded. This was simply nonsense. He was not a 3-year-old child. Even if he had a heavenly lightning spiritual root, it was impossible for him not to be afraid of being struck by lightning. At most, he would be able to withstand a few more bolts of lightning, compared to other spiritual roots. This ugly girl actually ran to a place where lightning was so dense. Wasn't she courting death? Yun Chujio was speechless. "I'm really not afraid of being struck by lightning. I'm not lying to you. Are you afraid of being struck by heavenly lightning? Don't worry about that. Heavenly lightning has a work ethic. Generally speaking, it won't accidentally strike others. When the time comes, it'll just put you somewhere far away from me." The little silver snake became even more anxious when it heard that. It roared, "Ugly girl, you're courting death. Don't tell me that you want to commit suicide because I forgot about you? Or are you sad because of what I said about glutinous rice ball the other day? All of this is my fault. Don't think too hard about it. I'll recover my memory sooner or later. Moreover, your penis isn't small either. It's really not small. It's much bigger than glutinous rice ball." Yun Chujio. She originally wanted to continue explaining, but when she heard the word glutinous rice ball, she decided not to say anything. Even if she did, the amnesiac snake would not believe her. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.